on a fishing boat. These people wanted to cross the border to South Korea to make money, but they suddenly discovered that this boat specialized in organ trafficking. When the crew member carried a little girl to have surgery, a dirty man sitting in the corner couldn't stand it anymore and decided to take action. This man, who looked like a beggar, swung his axe very skillfully. His movements were decisive and his methods were unusually cruel. He crazily killed the group of organ traffickers. Not long after, he killed everyone on the boat. At this time, the Korean Coast Guard suddenly received a report, so they immediately boarded the boat to conduct an inspection. But they discovered corpses scattered all over the boat. After going inside, they saw an extremely terrifying scene. The Korean Coast Guard immediately rushed in, surrounded the man, and asked him to raise his hands and reveal his identity. They only saw the man covered in blood. His eyes were red and filled with murderous intent. He gasped and answered that his name was Ji-hyuk. This name shocked the police, because Ji-hyuk was an extremely talented agent working for the Korean intelligence agency. Everyone thought that he had died a year ago during a mission. At that time, Ji-hyuk and two colleagues were ordered to eliminate a drug dealer who frequently traveled to the border area between China and North Korea. From the clues collected on them, the three people in the team quickly found the drug dealer's base and then killed all the members present inside that base. After seeing the drugs piled up, team leader Ji-hyuk used a fire to burn all the drugs. The reason they did so was because not long before that, the list of agents of the Korean intelligence agency was leaked. All the special agents who were lying in wait outside were killed on the same day. That's why the intelligence agency called it Bloody Friday. The special agents, led by Ji-hyuk, investigated the cause of the leaked list and found out about the drug trafficking group based in North Korea. The special agents who were killed earlier were also killed on the same day, right after they found out about the group. That's why Ji-hyuk led his colleagues to avenge their dead comrades. But when they thought they were about to complete the mission, all the members were suddenly attacked by an unknown armed group. Two members of the team died on the spot, and the team leader Ji-hyuk went missing. It wasn't until a year later that Ji-hyuk reappeared in this way. The news that he was alive was released and immediately attracted the attention of the South Korean intelligence agency. Special agent Ji-hyuk, who was declared missing and dead a year ago, suddenly reappeared in his hometown, shocking everyone. So they gave Ji-hyuk a thorough examination. Judging from his body functions, he had extraordinary health. But the strange thing was that they discovered a drug component in his body. The drug's function was to selectively erase memories, making Ji-hyuk completely unable to recall the memories he lost a year ago. What was even more troubling was that his emotions were easily out of control. During the polygraph test, his emotions were completely out of control. Just when he wanted to harm himself, someone intervened in time to stop him. That person was Pil-ho, who was also his superior. It was thanks to Pil-ho's recommendation that Ji-hyuk was able to successfully join the Korean intelligence agency. But when he saw Ji-hyuk's current unstable condition, Deputy Director General Du, the superior of the Foreign Intelligence Department, ordered him to wait until he had rested enough before returning to the intelligence department to work normally. But when Ji-hyuk returned, he discovered that someone was following him. After returning to his familiar place, looking at the wounds all over his body, he could not remember what had happened. When analyzing the information about his teammates who had been injured, he discovered that his teammates had been shot at close range. Moreover, there were no signs of timely resistance. This proved that someone had attacked them. That person must have caught them off guard and had undergone training. But Ji-hyuk could not remember the memories of that time. Therefore, Ji-hyuk was determined to find the truth at all costs. In order to find the real culprit behind Ji-hyuk, he frantically trained to improve his physical strength. After his body recovered to a certain extent, Ji-hyuk decided to return to the scene of the incident to investigate. Before exiting the country, he successfully distracted his colleague who had been paying attention to him. However, Ji-hyuk was stopped by the customs because he didn't want to reveal his whereabouts. Ji-hyuk attacked the customs officer. In the blink of an eye, Ji-hyuk knocked the two of them out. However, this scene was recorded by someone. Just as Ji-hyuk was about to leave the country, he discovered that Pil-ho was already waiting there. Pil-ho tried to persuade Ji-hyuk not to act rashly. Pil-ho promised to cooperate with Ji-hyuk to help him regain his memories. At the same time, Pil-ho would clearly investigate the truth of the case that happened a year ago. Pil-ho also told Ji-hyuk not to keep looking for the truth outside. Maybe the truth was right in a place he didn't expect. Ji-hyuk temporarily trusted Pil-ho. Ji-hyuk was absorbed in thinking about the implications of Pil-ho's words this morning. When he saw a flash of light on the opposite side, based on his professional instinct, Ji-hyuk realized that this was the code. After getting a hint, Ji-hyuk went to a shopping mall and found a USB inside the employee's locker. But when he opened it to see the content inside, what was inside shocked him. The person in the video was Ji-hyuk. Ji-hyuk said that there was a spy inside the organization. In order to find that traitor, Ji-hyuk erased his memories from a year ago. Ji-hyuk could not have imagined that he was the one who erased his memories from a year ago. In the end, why Ji-hyuk had to do that, he could not know. But from this moment on, Ji had to be vigilant and put suspicion on everyone around him, because he had to find the spy inside the organization. Only then could he find the truth. Therefore, Ji Ji-hyuk asked his colleague who worked in the records department to help him investigate the Brown Bear plan from a year ago. That was the beginning of the Bloody Friday. The reason why Director Kim died that year was because he investigated the terrifying force behind the Hwayang gang. All of their overseas agents were killed after the list of agents was leaked. The group led by Ji-hyuk was assassinated by the enemy because they were investigating this case. Ji-hyuk's memories only lasted until this point. What he didn't expect was that the Hwayang gang he had been searching for had secretly sneaked into Korea. They also brought with them a newly developed drug. They wanted to take this opportunity to swallow up the Korean market, but because of the greed of the local gang, they spread the Hwayang gang's products at a rapid pace. This led to a Korean idol hallucinating after smoking drugs and eventually getting hit by a car and dying on the spot. Because of the victim's influence, the local police conducted an in-depth investigation. They finally found out who was behind the local gang leader. The Hwayang gang acted as the supplier in order to avoid exposing their whereabouts. They arrested all the leaders of other gangs and showed off their power and strength, but the brutal methods of the Hwayang gang not only made other local gangs dissatisfied, but they also caught the attention of the intelligence department. They were originally a gang from abroad, so the intelligence department could only keep quiet. But the Hwayang gang was not only arrogant, but also involved in the bloody 6th incident a year ago. Therefore, the intelligence department paid attention to the second-in-command of the Hwayang gang, Yongtae. Yongtae was highly vigilant. Seeing signs of danger around him, he immediately ran away and jumped into a prepared car to escape. But under the pursuit and capture of police, Yongtae was eventually surrounded. Even though he was surrounded by the police, Yongtae did not panic at all. It seemed that he had known this would happen. That was why he got out of the car without any resistance. Even the police felt that pursuit of this cruel and ruthless criminal was going surprisingly smoothly. Sure enough, not long after they arrested Yongtae, the police reporting center received a threatening call. The other party threatened that if Yongtae was not released, they would kill a police officer every day as a warning. The first victim was a police officer who was patrolling the area nearby. The tension spread quickly. This was no longer a declaration of war against the police, but also a challenge to the reputation of the entire Korean national security system. Therefore, the intelligence agency took this case very seriously. Based on the special nature of the Hwayang gang case, Deputy Director General Du decided to assign Ji-hyuk, who had personally investigated and monitored the gang, to take on the responsibility. Ji-hyuk also said that the Hwayang gang's open challenge was not only a direct declaration of war against the national security system, but more importantly, it was possible that Yongtae had some important secrets in his hands. Therefore, Ji-hyuk wanted to use his own way to interrogate the silent Yongtae. After Ji-hyuk entered, he didn't say anything, but immediately went up to beat Yongtae up. Then Ji-hyuk tore Yongtae's clothes. Based on the tattoos on his body to analyze his past, Ji-hyuk used psychological methods to break Yongtae's defenses. When Ji talked about past that Yongtae didn't want to remember, he suddenly went crazy and wanted to hit Ji-hyuk. But the result was completely opposite. Yongtae's rage only received more savage punches from Ji-hyuk. After being beaten, Yongtae seemed to have learned how to open his mouth to talk. He even intentionally mentioned the story of the wolf mother avenging the child. Ji-hyuk originally didn't pay much attention to this story, but what Yongtae said next made Ji-hyuk angry. Yongtae said that the special agents were no match for them. The special agents were not on the same level as them. Hearing this, Ji-hyuk originally intended to teach the arrogant Yongtae another lesson, but at this moment he unexpectedly received news. When he walked to the table surrounded by the crowd, he discovered a hand inside the box. This hand was cut by the Hwayang gang from the hand of the second police officer they murdered. On the hand were engraved two words, stupid. Seeing these two words, stupid, covered in blood, Ji-hyuk suddenly remembered that the same two words were engraved on the chest of his murdered colleague. This also proved that the Hwayang gang was definitely related to the case of the special agent list being leaked earlier. Therefore, Ji-hyuk immediately returned to the interrogation room. But after entering, he became unusually quiet. Immediately after that, he used a white cloth to cover Yongtae's eyes, nose and mouth. Ji-hyuk was furious and wanted to kill Yongtae right now. Fortunately, his colleagues stopped him in time. Unexpectedly, Yongtae, who had just escaped death, arrogantly told Ji-hyuk that he said that they still didn't understand why he was here. He came here because of Ji-hyuk. This sentence made Ji-hyuk extremely surprised. Obviously, the two sides didn't know each other. Why did Yongtae know Ji-hyuk's name? This also made Chief Ha feel equally strange, but it also helped Ji-hyuk understand that the Hwayang gang was the breakthrough in his quest to find the truth. So when he couldn't get anything from Yongtae, Ji-hyuk went to find the innocent driver. Although the driver was forced to drive, he would have more or less clues about the other members of the Hwayang gang. So Ji-hyuk gave his phone number to the driver and told him that if you had any information, you could contact me at any time. Just as Ji-hyuk was about to return to sort out clues, he discovered that a bunch of people had suddenly turned themselves in at the police station. However, Ji-hyuk didn't notice anything unusual about this. On his way back, Ji-hyuk received a mysterious phone call. Only then did he suddenly understand what was going on. At the police station, a group of people were quietly acting nearby. They first destroyed the police station's communication system, then drove straight inside. The people who got out of the car all carried weapons and rushed into the police station. The people inside, seeing that it was time, immediately rushed into a fight with the police officers inside. Under the coordination of both inside and outside, the police who had not yet reacted were quickly taken down in large numbers. Then, the leading man grabbed a police officer and used his life to threaten the people inside to open the door. But the people inside were so afraid of death that they seemed to have forgotten that the evil gangsters would not keep their promises. These mysterious people were the Huayan gang's people who came to rescue the gang's second-in-command, Yang Tae, who was being locked up here. But what everyone didn't expect was that inside the cell there was a more important figure than the second-in-command, Yang Tae. He was the man who disguised himself as the innocent driver. His real identity was the real boss of the Huayan gang, Mu Soon. The first thing Mu Soon did when he got out was to deal with Yang Tae, because Yang Tae had told their enemies a story that shouldn't have been told. At the same time, after receiving a phone call from his partner, Ji Hyuk realized that these people had indeed targeted him. Moreover, after thinking carefully about the revenge story that Yang Tae told, Ji Hyuk realized that while interrogating the driver earlier, he had seen a familiar tattoo. The tattoo that looked familiar was exactly the same as the tattoo on the arm of the drug lord Hwang Dal, whom he had killed during a mission a year ago. Only then did Ji Hyuk realize that the driver was the real boss in hiding. He had been quietly following Ji Hyuk all this time to avenge his son. So when Ji Hyuk drove back to the police station, he saw Mu Soon sitting in the car leaving. He immediately turned the wheel to chase after the car, but the result was not as he had expected, so he immediately returned to the police station to check the surveillance camera. Ji Hyuk wanted to see what had happened, but what shocked Ji Hyuk was that he saw a familiar face appearing on the surveillance camera. That person was Chae Yoon, the person who had provided intelligence to his team a year ago. Ji Hyuk was lost in his memories. He finally remembered that before his team had an accident, Chae Yoon had come to find him, but he couldn't remember anything after that. So if Ji Hyuk wanted to find out what happened a year ago, he had to find the informant, Chae Yoon. So Ji Hyuk hid the truth and asked Deputy Director General Do to let him take a leave of absence. Not long ago, Deputy Director General Do was still going crazy over the incident caused by the Huayan gang. It seemed that she had now guessed Ji Hyuk's intentions. Not only did she not stop Ji Hyuk, but she also told him to rest well. In fact, she wanted to let Ji Hyuk investigate what the Huayan gang was doing. If anything happened to Ji Hyuk during his leave, the headquarters would not be held responsible. If it succeeded, all the better, but if it failed, there would be no loss. Ji Hyuk was now thinking of every way to meet Chae Yoon. Ji Hyuk remembered that he had helped Chae Yoon's aunt escape from North Korea before moving to Seoul, so when Chae Yoon appeared here, he would definitely contact the aunt who raised him, so that Ji Hyuk asked his partner Jae to help him get clues about Chae Yoon from that aunt. Since the last incident, Ji Hyuk began to feel that this girl Jae was someone he could trust. Indeed, Jae did not disappoint him. She successfully got clues about Chae Yoon from his aunt. The two immediately took action. They kept watch at Chae Yoon's hideout early. Thanks to that, Ji Hyuk was able to meet Chae Yoon again. Ji Hyuk immediately dealt with him. Jae cooperated with Ji Hyuk to successfully capture the informant Chae Joon. Chae Joon was originally the informant of Section Chief Kim. Since Section Chief Kim was killed, Ji Hyuk went to find Chae Joon and turned Chae Joon into his person. But Ji Hyuk could not remember the memories from a year ago at all. So Chae Yoon told Ji Hyuk that I was the one who came to find you. Although Ji Hyuk remembered, his expression was still very confused. So Chae Yoon told Ji Hyuk what happened a year ago. A year ago, at their last meeting, Chae Joon came to inform Ji Hyuk that there was definitely an insider in their organization. Before that, Chae Joon felt that the death of Section Chief Kim was definitely due to internal problems within their organization. Furthermore, the Huayan gang suddenly received news and knew the current hiding place of Ji Hyuk's group. Therefore, Chae Joon was even more certain that there was someone in Ji Hyuk's team who leaked the information to the outside. After transmitting this last piece of information, Chae Yoon told Ji Hyuk to absolutely not reveal it to anyone. After that, the two lost contact. After hearing this, Ji Hyuk was extremely shocked. He suddenly understood why he deliberately erased his memories for a year. The reason is because everything that is happening now has gone beyond his previous understanding of the people around him. On the way, Ji Hyuk took Chae Yoon back. Chae Joon also told Ji Hyuk that Mu Soon of the Huayan gang was using the fastest speed to smuggle drugs all over Korea. What was even more terrifying was that he had a large shipment behind him. That amount of goods was enough to destroy an entire country. Although Chae Yoon said that, what made Ji Hyuk feel strange was that he had clearly given Chae Yoon an emergency number of the intelligence agency before. But after he had an accident, why didn't Chae Yoon contact the organization to be evacuated? After hearing that, Chae Yoon stammered a few sentences but did not answer the question directly. Then, when Ji Hyuk was off guard, Chae Yoon jumped out of the car and ran away. But Chae Yoon left Ji Hyuk a very large envelope. Inside was the bill of lading for the Huayan gang to transport drugs everywhere. Ji Hyuk got the clue and immediately told Jae to investigate the number on the envelope. Then he gave the stack of shipping codes to his superior, Pilho. Ho. It was supposed to improve the department's performance, but the more important purpose was to hope that Pil Ho could give him a little more time. Ji-hyuk would definitely catch Moo soon. Then Ji-hyuk went to meet a mysterious woman. She was a Chinese intelligence agent who was undercover in Korea. She and Ji-hyuk were old friends. Ji-hyuk came to find her to find out information related to Moo Soon, who was being hunted by the Chinese police. It turned out that Moo Soon's power on the China-North Korea border had been completely eliminated by the Chinese police. Therefore, he led people to Korea to establish a firm foothold and expand his base. But the most terrifying person was not Moo Soon, but a commander standing behind him. That was the real manipulator. The real manipulator was Mo Sa. Mo Sa was the one who really controlled the situation behind the scenes. After Ji-hyuk understood the situation, he fell into deep thought. While Ji-hyuk was deep in thought, Jae called to inform him that she had discovered that the number was the serial number of a container. So the two of them immediately went to the port that night. Ji-hyuk arranged for Jae to stand guard on one side while he went to look for the container. On this side, Jae discovered something unusual, so she immediately informed Ji-hyuk to leave quickly. But Ji-hyuk refused to listen. On the contrary, Ji-hyuk continued to go deeper to search for the container, because he wanted to see if the container really contained enough drugs to destroy an entire country. As a result, when Ji-hyuk went inside to check, he only saw a skinny old man chained and restrained, with strange tattoos all over body. While Ji-hyuk was wondering what was happening, a voice rang out. As Ji-hyuk approached the container door, preparing to pull out his gun and fight, he heard that familiar voice. Ji-hyuk stepped out to see that the Hwayang gang had taken Chae-yoon hostage. Seeing the breakthrough factor in the search for the truth being held at knife point, Ji-hyuk had no choice but to compromise. However, he had no idea that this was in line with Moo Soon's wishes. Moo Soon had waited a long time to avenge his son, but Moo Soon did not want Ji-hyuk to die so easily. On the contrary, he wanted to torture Ji-hyuk to death with his own hands. When he saw that his subordinate dared to attack his prey first, Moo Soon was extremely angry. He leisurely picked up the candlestick and hit his subordinate on the head. He wanted everyone to understand that Ji-hyuk was his prey, and only he could torture this prey. He did not allow anyone to compete with him. So after beating up his stupid subordinate, he used his favorite method of electroshock physical therapy to torture Ji-hyuk. Moo Soon stuffed one end of the wire into Ji-hyuk's mouth and used electrical tape to seal his mouth. Then Moo Soon turned on the switch. The high intensity of the electric current caused Ji-hyuk's whole body to convulse. Then, he immediately fainted. But Moo Soon did this not only to abuse Ji-hyuk, but also to take out the tracking device on Ji-hyuk's body to laugh at his despicable tricks. Moo Soon smugly thought that now no one could save Ji-hyuk. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Ji-hyuk not only did not panic, but instead smiled as if he had already won. This smile of Ji-hyuk's made Moo Soon, who was already very smug, suddenly feel confused. Then, Ji-hyuk laughed back at Moo Soon. That was just the trick of hiding in the container. Obviously, he had no ability at all, yet he boasted that he had enough numbers to destroy all of Korea. Unexpectedly, Moo Soon was not angry at all, but instead smiled happily. He told his subordinates to open the door next to him to show Ji-hyuk the drug factory he had hidden in his hotel room. It turned out that the old man inside the container was a drug master. He was Moo Soon's secret weapon. The tattoos on the old man's body were the latest drug-making techniques. Not only could it significantly shorten the production time, it also had no smell and no emissions. The entire process was done neatly, without any mistakes. Moreover, Moo Soon had already known that Chae-yoon was the one who informed Ji-hyuk. Therefore, Moo Soon had deliberately let Chae-yoon show his face before, then used Chae-yoon to give Ji-hyuk the bill of lading. Those were all the addresses of drug dealers in Korea. Their purpose in doing so was to use the intelligence agency to clean up all the people in the same industry in Korea. Then, in a situation where there are no competitors and sources of goods, they will be able to quickly take over the entire Korean drug market. Looking at Moo Soon's smug look, Ji-hyuk was not nervous at all, because right before being arrested, he had finished negotiating with his partner Jae. He placed the fake GPS device on himself, then swallowed the real GPS device stuffed in a capsule into his stomach. As long as he swallowed it, the enemy would not be able to detect it. Therefore, Ji-hyuk continued to provoke Moo Soon and exposed that he was not the real boss. The one behind the manipulation was Mo Sa. Moo Soon was so angry that he punched Ji-hyuk, but Ji-hyuk still did not stop. Ji-hyuk said that the person who wiped out his team a year ago was probably Mo Sa. After hearing that, Moo Soon burst out laughing and picked up the knife on the ground and told Ji-hyuk in detail that I used my own hands to cut the throats of each person in your team. Ji-hyuk couldn't hold back his anger and panic anymore and vomited on the spot. Moo Soon saw this scene and ordered his men to throw Ji-hyuk into the bathroom. Once Ji-hyuk was done, Moo Soon would continue to torture him. But at this moment, Moo Soon's phone rang again. When he saw the name Mo Sa appear on the screen, he was so nervous that his hands were shaking as he answered the phone. Ji-hyuk had already vomited the tracking device out. Jae quickly received the signal. She immediately informed the special forces of the bureau. On the other side, seeing that they had some important information, Ji-hyuk didn't bother pretending anymore. After taking down the two people in the bathroom, Ji-hyuk leisurely walked out. The gangster subordinate intended to use weapons to deal with the super agent, but this seemed seemed pointless. This type of agent profession could be said to be trained to become a killing machine. Therefore, Ji-hyuk would open their eyes. After Ji-hyuk finished off the last gangster, he rushed out to look for Moo-soon, but only saw Chae-yoon sitting in the corner. Moo-soon was now standing in the elevator, panicking and preparing to leave. His frightened appearance was exactly like a child who had made a mistake and had just been scolded by his parents. Ji-hyuk was still upstairs. He walked to Chae-yoon, who was on the verge of death. Before Chae-yoon died, he managed to explain Ji-hyuk's question. Chae-yoon told Ji-hyuk that he had actually called that emergency number before, but the person sent by the other side wanted to kill him. That's why he returned to the Hwayeon gang to continue undercover, but he didn't expect that he would be taken advantage of by Moo-soon. Suddenly, someone ambushed Ji-hyuk from behind. Luckily, Jae appeared in time to shoot and save him, but when he saw Chae-yoon dead, Ji-hyuk angrily snatched the gun from Jae's hand. He turned around and fired at the drugmaker repeatedly and asked for Moo-soon's whereabouts. However, the other party only looked at the old man who made the drugs beside and said nothing. After everything was over, Ji-hyuk returned to the intelligence agency to report, but he did not mention anything related to what happened in the hotel. What was even more strange was that seeing Ji-hyuk covered in injuries, Deputy Director General Do did not ask why. On the contrary, she told him to go back and continue working as usual. After Ji-hyuk left, Deputy Director General Do immediately turned on the computer. Inside, there was a recording of Ji-hyuk fighting in the hotel. However, after viewing the footage, she deleted it all without hesitation. After experiencing this incident, Ji-hyuk trusted Jae even more. He wanted to know why someone who used to do clerical work like her wanted to run to the front lines to work. Unexpectedly, Jae replied that she wanted to gain power so that she could protect the person she wanted to protect. Ji-hyuk seemed to like this answer very much, but he didn't know that Jae had already noticed him. She saw him as a breakthrough in her pursuit of finding the truth. But Ji-hyuk's main goal now was to clarify who in the intelligence service had received Chae-yoon's distress call that year. So he asked his colleague who worked in the archives department to sneak into the computer room to investigate the records. But at the crucial moment, the entire intelligence agency's database was attacked, and the records of the call from a year ago that Ji-hyuk needed were also stolen by hackers. Although it was a national intelligence agency, it was attacked from the outside by hackers who stole confidential documents. Just hearing it, it seemed almost impossible. But what made the two deputy directors general afraid was that among the documents the hacker stole this time, there was a secret of the two departments that could not be told to anyone. If either side knew the secret of the other side, then the other side would be completely controlled. Therefore, the two deputy directors general immediately ordered their subordinates to conduct an investigation. After the investigation, they discovered that the other side used the computer of the staff in the department, which was why they were able to suddenly attack Pormer. Very quickly, they found out who used that computer, which was the computer of department head Choi, who worked in the technical department and had passed away a year ago. The mastermind behind this incident was department head Choi's son, Song-joon. He was a genius hacker. In order to clearly investigate the cause of his father's death, Song-joon planned to reveal the documents he had stolen to reporters. Unexpectedly, all these actions could not escape the eyes of the intelligence agency. Song-joon realized that something was wrong and immediately retreated, but in the end, he still could not escape the encirclement of the special agents. At this moment, Ji-hyuk suddenly appeared. The reason Ji-hyuk was able to find Song-joon was entirely thanks to Jae's help, because she used to be a subordinate of Section Chief Choi. After Section Chief Choi died mysteriously, Jae kept in touch with Song-joon. After learning that this was Song-joon's doing, the two joined forces to find him. But when Ji-hyuk was taking Song-joon away, Song-joon suddenly asked him if he was Ji-hyuk. Ji-hyuk was surprised when Song-joon knew his name. Song-joon asked Ji-hyuk if he did not remember the promises he made that day. It was Ji-hyuk who said it a year ago at the North Korean border. After hearing it, Ji-hyuk was extremely confused. Memories kept flooding back into Ji-hyuk's mind, causing his head to ache. Song-joon took the opportunity to run away. At this time, a woman came to find Ji-hyuk. She angrily scolded him, saying, "Isn't it enough that you ruined everything? How many more people do you want to hurt before you stop?" After hearing the woman's accusations, Ji-hyuk wasn't angry at all, because she was Soo-yeon, the fiancée of his former teammate. A year ago, after Ji-hyuk brought his teammate along on a mission, but in the end, only Ji-hyuk survived. It was because of the incident that happened a year ago that Soo-yeon deliberately asked to transfer to the intelligence agency, hoping to escape the pain of the past. She also went to see Ji-hyuk privately and hoped that he could take responsibility for finding the truth. However, Soo-yeon was chosen by Deputy Director General Lee and promoted to the position of Section Chief, and was also in charge of the Domestic Bureau's hacker case this time. The reason Deputy Director General Lee assigned this task to Soo-yeon was because she was someone who could be abandoned at any time. Therefore, Ji-hyuk understood the relationship of benefits and harms and actually sympathized with Soo-yeon. Later, Ji-hyuk was called out by Pilho. Pilho told him about the seriousness of this case. It was directly related to the leadership role between the two departments, but Pilho did not want Ji-hyuk to participate. On the contrary, he wanted Ji-hyuk to remain neutral, because Pilho felt that his superior, Deputy Director General Du, had hidden a lot of things from him. In the case a year ago, there were many documents that were locked by Deputy Director General Du. Even a director like him did not have the right to see them, so Pil-ho told Ji-hyuk to be careful with everyone. At the same time, Pil-ho also told Ji-hyuk something that he had been wondering about for a long time. On this side, Jae received a message from Song-jun. Song-jun said that he wanted to meet Ji-hyuk, but because of the failure of the previous operation, the overseas department was no longer allowed to participate in this case. But Ji-hyuk and Jae were the key to luring Song-jun. Therefore, they were forced to cooperate with the domestic department to arrest Song-jun. However, Song-jun, with his nickname of Genius, was not that stupid. In order to meet Ji-hyuk, Song-jun intentionally manipulated all the screens and surveillance cameras at the train station. So, the smart Ji-hyuk immediately followed the clues to find Song-jun. After a short period of contact, Song-jun knew that Ji-hyuk had lost his memories of a year ago. Ji-hyuk also knew from Song-jun that the person he had contacted a year ago was actually Department Head Choi. Ji-hyuk begged Chief Choi to help him investigate who received Chae-yoon's emergency call at that time, but the result was nothing. Song-jun seemed to be hiding something too. Just when the two were in a stalemate, Soo-yeon, through controlling the surveillance cameras in the subway, told Song-jun that Ji-hyuk was the one who broke his father's leg. Therefore, she hoped Song-jun would surrender and trust the other people in the intelligence agency. After hesitating for a moment, Song-jun ran straight out of the train, seemingly wanting to get caught on purpose. Sure enough, not long after, when the intelligence agency interrogated Song-jun, while the technical department was decoding Song-jun's computer, it was attacked by a group of malware. It turned out that it was all Song-jun's plan. He intentionally got caught, then used the malware installed in his computer to attack the intelligence agency's intelligence system. If the malware is not decrypted within 30 minutes, it will automatically wipe out all intelligence agency data. Then Song-jun took this opportunity to ask to talk directly to Ji-hyuk, because no one could decrypt Song-jun's malware in a short time, so they had no choice but to let Ji-hyuk in to talk to Sang-jun. From Ji-hyuk, Sang-jun knew about his father's past. Ji-hyuk and Chief Choi had once carried out a mission abroad together, but because his teammate, Chief Ha, had taken the money, they didn't have enough money to pay the informant. At this time, a local boy volunteered to help their group. The reason the boy did so was because they had a common enemy, but the result was extremely tragic. The boy was discovered by the enemy and brutally murdered. Chief Choi, a father, felt extremely heartbroken when he saw the boy die tragically. The mission was supposed to end here, but Chief Choi refused to stop. He went into the enemy base alone. When Ji-hyuk arrived, he found the bodies lying on the ground. Along with that, Chief Choi was injured in the leg. The reason Chief Choi did that was because the boy had innocent eyes that were exactly like Song-jun's. Hearing this, Sang-jun was moved to tears. Ji-hyuk asked Chief Choi, who had been transferred to the technical department, to help him find out who received Chae-yoon's phone call. But the result was that not long after, Chief Choi suddenly passed away. Therefore, Ji-hyuk did not believe that Chief Choi would do such a foolish thing. At the same time, Ji-hyuk also told Song-jun about the fact that there was a spy in their organization. Ji-hyuk wanted to find the traitor to avenge his dead teammates and give Chief Choi a clear truth. Therefore, they had the same enemy. Ji-hyuk's sincerity moved Song-jun. Therefore, Sang-jun told Ji-hyuk the decryption code. After finishing work, Soo-yeon proactively went to find Ji-hyuk to express her desire to apologize, because while Ji-hyuk and Sang-jun were talking, she left behind a listening pen. Thanks to that, she heard the content of the conversation, so she felt that she had misunderstood Ji-hyuk before. It seemed that the person who killed her fiancé was someone else, but at this moment, Song-jun, with the help of Jae, hid in the bathroom and called Ji-hyuk. At this time, Ji-hyuk knew that the person who received Chae-yoon's distress call was Soo-yeon. The result of the investigation was exactly like that. Seeing the suspect standing right in front of him made Ji-hyuk's mind even more chaotic. Soo-yeon thought that Ji-hyuk had fallen ill again. Unexpectedly, Ji-hyuk turned around and strangled her. Ji-hyuk, who had been suppressed for so long, seemed to have found the real culprit. He kept pressing Soo-yeon, but she didn't understand what was going on at all. She thought that Ji-hyuk's illness had gotten worse and led to him losing control, so she loudly called his name. But the more she did so, the more serious the consequences became. Ji-hyuk then woke up from his dream. He quickly picked up his gun, opened the magazine to check, and found that there were no missing bullets. Only then could he breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had not completely lost control, but the doctor told Ji-hyuk that he had abused Soo-yeon earlier. This proved that his condition had become more serious. He was no longer suitable for frontline duty at the intelligence agency. But Ji-hyuk did not pay any attention to the doctor's advice. Ji-hyuk continued to do as he pleased. Later, Ji-hyuk was called to the office by Pil-ho. Pil-ho ordered Ji-hyuk to take a leave immediately. However, this gentle treatment not only did not make Ji-hyuk feel grateful, on the contrary, Ji-hyuk questioned Pil-ho, who was always calm, why he had such an extreme reaction to this incident. Pil-ho did not answer the question directly. In the end, the two ended their conversation in an unhappy atmosphere. Right after leaving, Ji-hyuk coincidentally met Soo-yeon, who was coming to see him. Soo-yeon's neck was red from the strangulation marks, but she did not blame him. On the contrary, she asked him if he had suddenly abused used her earlier because he had heard something about her, or if some memories from a year ago had been recovered. Ji-hyuk did not directly answer Soo-yeon's question. All he could think about was starting an investigation from her. He sneaked into Soo-yeon's house and found some mood-controlling drugs. There was also half a vacation photo that Soo-yeon had torn up, but the strange thing was that the date on the back was from before Soo-yeon joined the intelligence agency. So Ji-hyuk was very curious about whose face was on the other half of the photo. Was she already acquainted with his teammates before she joined the intelligence agency? Then he brought this suspicion to find Chief Ha, who had a lot of information. Ji-hyuk let down his guard against Department Manager Ha because from Pilho, Ji-hyuk learned that Chief Han had previously embezzled funds to save his sick daughter, but in the end, the girl still could not survive. Then from Department Manager Ha, Ji-hyuk knew that before she entered the intelligence agency, So-yeon had a boyfriend. That information had spread throughout the domestic department. It was very likely that the boyfriend was someone from the domestic department. That was why Soo-yeon had the opportunity to get in here and even smoothly promoted to the position of chief. While Ji-hyuk was absorbed in thinking about this, Jae's cry for help made him change his way of thinking. Jae was in charge of editing case files. While editing the evidence of a spy, she discovered something unusual. The entry and exit times provided by the witness and the suspect were inconsistent. Jae went to ask her colleagues about this, but her colleagues ignored her. Her colleagues even told her to just do as she was told, because they all knew that the witness had signed under duress. Jae wanted to find out the details of this matter, but she found out that the witness had died at home. Moreover, judging from the marks on the victim's body, this one had been murdered by someone else. However, this incident caused Jae trouble. She was scolded by her superiors for meddling in other people's business. Unexpectedly, Soo-yeon came forward to help Jae. After the incident, Soo-yeon also called Jae over and told her not to investigate further. Soo-yeon told Jae that if you insisted on investigating, you must immediately report to me as soon as you had results. So Jae quickly started investigating. She discovered that the suspect entry and exit records were fake. The person who forged it was a high-ranking agent of the domestic department, even higher in rank than Ji-hyuk. After the bloody 6th day passed, only this agent named Chun-woo survived. That's why Jae came to find Ji-hyuk to ask him something, but Ji-hyuk had absolutely no impression of this person. However, this high-ranking agent Chun-woo was observing Ji-hyuk's every move. On this side, Ji-hyuk continuously received many calls from a strange number. The other party was continuously trying to contact Ji-hyuk, but he didn't want to pay attention to this because today was the anniversary of his parents' death, so he just wanted to pay his respects to them carefully. But what Ji-hyuk didn't expect was that behind the portrait of his parents was a mysterious USB. Ji-hyuk brought it home and opened it to see. There was a photo inside, but the photo wasn't clear enough, so he asked Jae to help increase the sharpness of the photo. Ji-hyuk finally discovers that person in the photo is the lucky surviving agent Chun-woo. The situation suddenly became more and more complicated. Suddenly, someone pointed clues at the two of them. Ji-hyuk gradually realized that Chun-woo was definitely related to Soo-yeon. However, Pilho was now bringing Ji-hyuk's documents to find Deputy Director General Do. Pilho said that since Ji-hyuk's parents had an accident, he had developed dissociative amnesia. Therefore, Pilho suggested that Deputy Director General Do temporarily remove Ji-hyuk from his position and not let him participate in investigating any more cases. However, this suggestion was opposed by Deputy Director General Do. She also warned Pilho to restrain his ambition. After listening, Pilho angrily asked Deputy Director General Do if she thought that when Ji-hyuk regained his memory, he would still be on our side. Deputy Director General Do heard the words us and asked Pilho if that included her. The internal struggle was a war without force. Jae still stood on Ji-hyuk's side because she also wanted to find the truth. Jae quickly investigated and found out that the immigration records in the spy case were fake. Moreover, the person who could forge these things was most likely Chun-woo. She immediately told Ji-hyuk about this, but was stopped by Soo-yeon. Under Soo-yeon's intense questioning, Jae finally had no choice but to tell the truth. Soo-yeon ordered Jae not to continue investigating, or else she would bring disaster upon herself. But Jae asked Soo-yeon if she did this because of Chun-woo. Unexpectedly, after hearing this name, Soo-yeon was extremely surprised. She sternly warned Jae not to participate in the investigation of matters related to Chun-woo. However, Jae did not listen. On the way back, Jae accidentally saw Pilho and Soo-yeon having an argument, so she called and told Ji-hyuk about this. Furthermore, through investigation, it was discovered that it was exactly as Ji-hyuk had guessed. A few years ago, Soo-yeon and Chun-woo had done a mission together. Moreover, in the report, it seemed that he was also trying his best to help Chun-woo hide something. Therefore, Ji-hyuk asked Jae to meet at the old place to discuss it thoroughly. But while Ji-hyuk was waiting, he received a call for help from Jae. Ji-hyuk immediately ran down to the parking lot and found a car rushing past. Jae was nowhere to be seen. Seeing things scattered on the ground, Ji-hyuk immediately drove after them. During the chase, Ji-hyuk received a call from Jae. However, a strange man's voice came through the phone. Ji-hyuk immediately guessed that the other party was Chun-woo. He said, "I told you not to meddle in other people's problem anymore. Ji-hyuk was not afraid of Chun-woo's provocation. Ji-hyuk accelerated to chase after the car in front and finally succeeded in blocking it. But when Ji-hyuk ran to open the car door, he discovered that the person in the car was not Chun-woo, and Jae-yi was not in it. At this moment, Ji-hyuk's phone rang again. Chun-woo laughed at Ji-hyuk's recklessness and told him to turn around and look behind. Only then did Ji-hyuk discover that Jae-yi had been hidden in the trunk of the car he had been driving earlier. Chun-woo warned Ji-hyuk again that he was not allowed to investigate me, otherwise the people around you would be in danger. When Ji-hyuk turned around to look around, he saw Chun-woo throw Jae-yi's phone on the ground and then leave proudly. In order to investigate the truth clearly, Ji-hyuk asked Soo-yeon to meet him and talk privately. On the way, Soo-yeon continuously helped Ji-hyuk recall the past, but when they reached the intersection, she suddenly called him back and said that before she dated his teammate, she owed someone in the intelligence agency a huge favor. The other party had made a request that she couldn't refuse, so now she was regretting it. When Ji-hyuk curiously asked if that person was Chun-woo, Soo-yeon was suddenly shot. Soo-yeon quickly collapsed before she could speak. Seeing that, Ji-hyuk immediately begged the people around to call an ambulance. At the same time, he saw a man wearing a hat quietly leaving the crowd. Soo-yeon tried to use her last bit of strength to tell Ji-hyuk a secret. After that, she also fell into a coma. Ji-hyuk was extremely shocked when he heard it. Soo-yeon was taken to the emergency room. Ji-hyuk was also taken away by the police for questioning. The police showed Ji-hyuk the surveillance camera at the scene. The scene in the video shocked Ji-hyuk. The surveillance camera recorded Ji-hyuk holding a gun and shooting at Soo-yeon, which made him panic. Could it be that he could no longer distinguish between reality and dreams? Then the chief personally came to inquire about this matter. Deputy Director General Do tried her best to protect Ji-hyuk. She said that he was probably framed by someone, but Pilho's attitude was completely opposite. Pilho thought that Ji-hyuk's mental state was unstable, so he accidentally killed his colleague. Moreover, the evidence was very complete, so Pilho personally went to the police station to escort Ji-hyuk. While talking to Ji-hyuk, Pilho said that Soo-yeon always said that she owed him, so he always felt very guilty. But Ji-hyuk asked Pilho why you didn't say anything after hearing that I shot Soo-yeon. Pilho. On the way back, Ji-hyuk clearly remembered that before Soo-yeon fell into a coma, she told him not to trust Pilho. To verify what Soo-yeon said, on the way back, he suddenly resisted and controlled all the escorts. In a situation where he lost control of the car, he crashed head-on into Pilho's car. Seeing Pilho about to attack, Ji-hyuk fired a warning shot. Ji-hyuk questioned Pilho that I did not shoot Soo-yeon. However, Pilho remained silent and said nothing. Seeing that, Ji-hyuk immediately said some harsh words. Ji-hyuk told Pilho that if we meet again and you still don't trust me, then use the gun in my hand to shoot me dead. Pilho saw Ji-hyuk slowly leaving and picked up the gun from the ground. Not long after, the entire intelligence agency received news that Ji-hyuk had shot Pilho and escaped. The entire intelligence agency focused all their efforts on capturing Ji-hyuk. Deputy Director General Do thought that this was Pilho's plot, so she asked Department Manager Ha to continue investigating clues to help Ji-hyuk vindicate. After escaping, Ji-hyuk could only go find Jae-yi, whom he currently trusted. But when Jae-yi brought Ji-hyuk home, Ji-hyuk pressed her against the wall and sternly interrogated Jae-yi. He asked her why the information about him and his dead teammates appeared in her house. Jae-yi also did not continue to hide it. She directly stated her purpose. The reason she did so was because her father was a special agent of the intelligence agency. But after her father went on a mission outside, he disappeared for more than 10 years. In order to find the truth about her father's disappearance, she clung to Ji-hyuk, who had a similar past to her missing father. After listening, Ji-hyuk also let down his guard. Jae-yi continued to ask Ji-hyuk, surely he could not harm Soo-yeon, right? This sentence made Ji-hyuk feel somewhat comforted. After all, now there was finally someone who believed him. But Ji-hyuk's mind was also in chaos right now, because everything that happened inside the surveillance camera was completely different from the reality he had experienced. What he still remembered was that there was a suspicious man at the scene, so the two of them split up to act. One person quietly returned to the crime scene, the other went to investigate the surveillance cameras nearby. Jae-yi followed the road to avoid the surveillance cameras and discovered the silhouette of the suspect. Through investigation at the intelligence agency, Jae-yi learned that the other party was also a special agent who had defected from North Korea. This person was currently hiding in a restaurant. Therefore, Ji-hyuk immediately went to that restaurant. After a while of fighting, Ji-hyuk successfully controlled the other party. But just as Ji-hyuk was about to question him, he crushed the poison pill in his mouth and left this world. Fortunately, Ji-hyuk found a photo of a reporter on his phone. That reporter was very likely to be the next target. Jae-yi immediately recognized this person at first sight. That was the person who was falsely accused of being a spy. Therefore, Ji-hyuk was even more certain that there was definitely someone inside who leaked intelligence. Moreover, there was also very close cooperation with someone outside. But reporter Ki-sun was still imprisoned in the Intelligence Bureau, so they could only start with her colleague. However, Ki-sun's colleague did not know anything about the content Ki-sun was going to report. Coincidentally, Ki-sun and Soo-yeon used to be colleagues. It turned out that Soo-yeon was also a reporter. What was even more coincidental was that a few days ago, Soo-yeon had made an appointment to meet Ki-sun for a private talk. Only then did Jae remember that Soo-yeon had said that she would not sit still and wait to die. Soo-yeon told Jae to just wait for the results. Jae returned to the bureau to continue searching for information when she suddenly discovered an extra piece of paper on the computer desk. The series of numbers written on it was the internal project that was currently on hold. After reading it carefully, Jae understood that this was a type of AI technology. It can change the face of the person appearing in the video, thereby falsifying the actual situation at the scene. She suspected that Ji-hyuk had been harmed by this technique, so she immediately reported these two pieces of news to him. Ji-hyuk followed the clues provided by Ji-yi to find the inventor of this technique. The other party told Ji-hyuk that although this project had been suspended by the intelligence agency, a man with the last name Kim came to find him. Thanks to the financial support of that man with the last name Kim, this technique had reached a level where it was difficult to distinguish between real and fake. If one wanted to determine the truth, the only way was to find the original video to compare the data. As for department manager Ha, through analyzing the bullet and comparing the position where Ji-hyuk shot So-yeon, he discovered that it was basically impossible to create this type of trajectory. Therefore, Ji-hyuk could be judged innocent. However, Deputy Director General Do said there was no need to rush. She hid this evidence for now because she was also observing Ji-hyuk's every move, so she needed him to discover the truth himself. Meanwhile, Jae was suddenly called to meet Pil-ho. Then Jae went to Ji-hyuk. From Pil-ho, she learned that Soo-yeon was nominated to the bureau by him. It seemed that all the clues were being intentionally brought before them. At this time, Ji-hyuk remembered that Soo-yeon once said that she owed someone a favor, along with Pil-ho saying that Soo-yeon owed him a favor. It turned out that Pil-ho had already signaled Ji-hyuk. It was just that Ji-hyuk didn't pay attention at that time. Therefore, Ji-hyuk believed that Pil-ho was still on his side, so Ji-hyuk decided to take a gamble. Ji-hyuk took the initiative to contact Pil-ho and requested a private meeting with reporter Ki-sun, who was being held in the bureau. After finishing, Ji-hyuk would confess his sin by himself. Pil-ho agreed to this request but still placed snipers around. After that, Ji-hyuk went to the designated location as agreed, but regardless of the surveillance camera or any other means, Pil-ho could not determine Ji-hyuk's location until the person in the photo took off his hat. This scene made Pil-ho extremely shocked because the information displayed the name of the suspect Ji-hyuk, but the surveillance camera showed Soo-yeon's face. The sniper's side reported that they had confirmed Ji-hyuk's identity and requested orders from their superiors, but when Pil-ho saw this scene, he kept hesitating and did not give orders. It turned out that all of this was created by Ji-hyuk using the face-swapping technique. The purpose was to distract the enemy. After that, Ji-hyuk took reporter Ki-sun and ran away, while accurately avoiding all the snipers' positions. The person who informed him of the location was Jae, who was participating in this action at the bureau. Then, from reporter Ki-sun, Ji-hyuk learned that a year ago, she had investigated a mysterious organization called Sangmong. It was established by retired high-ranking leaders of the intelligence agency and within the intelligence agency, so they took advantage of retired special agents and defectors from North Korea to do some illegal things that harmed the country and the people. The Bloody Friday incident in the intelligence agency was also caused by the leak of the special agent list. She received a report saying that person behind the leak of the special agent list was this organization called Sangmong. Moreover, the person who provided this information said that he was the only lucky survivor. This immediately reminded Ji-hyuk of Chun-woo. Not only that, at that time, Ji-hyuk received a call from Jae. She said that she had decrypted the encrypted file inside the USB before. Then she sent him the restored photo inside. In the photo, there are three mysterious men meeting each other. Chun-woo. Ji-hyuk immediately remembered that mysterious phone number. Ji-hyuk guessed that Chun-woo called to warn him, so Ji-hyuk sent this photo to Chun-woo. Ji-hyuk lied that I would bring reporter Ki-sun to meet you. As expected, everything happened as expected. Chun-woo went to the location Ji-hyuk had designated. Ji-hyuk then went straight to the point and said that he already knew about the Sangmong organization. Moreover, the person who reported this organization was Chun-woo. Ji-hyuk guessed that Chun-woo had been lucky to escape thanks to Sangmong. However, perhaps the situation had changed later. Reporter Ki-sun became Chun-woo's weakness. Ji-hyuk then took out the photo to threaten Chun-woo. Ji-hyuk said that if I revealed the story about Ki-sun and the photo to the public, the Sangmong organization would definitely not let Chun-woo Chunwoo off. So Ji-hyuk asked Chunwoo to agree to two things. The first was to hand over the original video of Ji-hyuk shooting Soo-yeon. The second was to reveal the identity of the person whose face was covered in the photo. Chunwoo quickly agreed to the first. However, as for the second, Chunwoo only knew that the other party was once an important member of the intelligence agency. As for this one true identity, he didn't know. Ji-hyuk questioned Chunwoo about why he did that to Soo-yeon. After hearing that, Chunwoo immediately went crazy and said that he wanted to stop her. But in the end, for some reason, he couldn't stop. In fact, not long before, Chunwoo had captured Moo-soon. Chunwoo wanted to use Moo-soon to find Mo-sa, who even the Sangmung organization wanted. However, Moo-soon was extremely stubborn. No matter what he did, Moo-soon refused to reveal Mo-sa's whereabouts. In the end, Chunwoo had no choice but to kill Moo-soon. Therefore, Chunwoo repeatedly warned Ji-hyuk. When Ji-hyuk's memory returns and he gets closer to the truth, he will also feel like 1,000 swords are piercing his heart. Then Ji-hyuk sends the video he got to Jae-yi, but Jae-yi told Ji-hyuk that Soo-yeon had already woken up. Moreover, after hanging up, Jae-yi deleted the original video that Ji-hyuk had worked so hard to get. When Ji-hyuk disguised himself as a doctor and went to the hospital, he found that it was empty. He was immediately surrounded by a small group that had been lying in wait. Pilho had also been there for a long time. Pilho told Ji-hyuk that Soo-yeon had passed away a few hours ago due to unsuccessful emergency treatment. That was why Ji-hyuk was imprisoned. While in prison, Ji-hyuk tried to reorganize the progress of the case. As more and more of the truth was revealed, Ji-hyuk understood that the Sangmung organization was likely the ones who brutally murdered his comrades, but he had no way of knowing who was inside. On this side, Chunwoo continued to investigate Mo-sa, but in the end, he was caught by the mysterious Mo-sa. Mo-sa questioned Chunwoo about who ordered you to investigate me, but Chunwoo refused to give in, even if he died. So Mo-sa killed Chunwoo and hung his body on the most eye-catching billboard in Seoul, so that the whole country could see how the elite agent of the intelligence agency died in front of the people. This brazen provocation angered the top leaders of the intelligence agency. The chief originally wanted to let Deputy Director General Lee of the Domestic Department investigate this case, but Deputy Director General Do said that Chunwoo was from the Overseas Department. Therefore, this matter should be handled by her. However, because she had not handled the previous matters well, and Deputy Director General Lee had questioned Deputy Director General Do's ability, the chief insisted on giving this case to Deputy Director General Lee. Seeing that her position was being shaken, Deputy Director General Do made a promise to the chief. She pledged that if she did not find any results within 2 weeks, she would take responsibility and resign. After hearing this, the Director General agreed to hand over the case to Deputy Director General Do to monitor and investigate. Then, Deputy Director Do immediately ordered Section Chief Ha to release Ji-hyuk, because not long before, she had received the original video sent by the mysterious person. It was enough to prove that Ji-hyuk was framed by someone else. But on the way to carry out the mission, Section Chief Ha was suddenly stopped by Pilho. Pilho asked Section Chief Ha for a favor, which was to intentionally anger Ji-hyuk, causing Ji-hyuk to feel guilty and not want to return to the intelligence agency. But what Pilho did not expect was that not only was Ji-hyuk not angered, Ji-hyuk even asked Section Chief Ha back, "Did Pilho tell you to do that to me?" Section Chief Ha was extremely surprised. At the same time, Ji-hyuk also learned that Chunwoo was killed. Although Ji-hyuk and Chunwoo were both friends and enemies, the consecutive deaths of his colleagues gave him more motivation to investigate the truth. However, the first thing Ji-hyuk did after going out was to find Jae-yi. Ji-hyuk wanted to know why she suddenly betrayed him. Jae-yi also frankly told the truth. Pilho, after failing to capture Ji-hyuk, came to find her. Pilho said that her father was probably not dead yet. Moreover, her father had changed his appearance, becoming an extremely dangerous character named Mo-sa. In order to get more clues about her father, Jae-yi compromised with Pilho. That was why she betrayed Ji-hyuk. After hearing this, Ji-hyuk was not angry at all. On the contrary, he hoped that she would continue to help him investigate. When preparing to leave, Ji-hyuk did not forget to thank her for sending the video to his superiors. But when hearing this news, Jae-yi was extremely surprised. She wanted to explain to Ji-hyuk, but he had already left. After returning home, Ji-hyuk added Jae-yi's photo to the suspect group. When returning to the intelligence agency, Deputy Director General Do assigned Ji-hyuk to take charge of Chunwoo's case. When Ji-hyuk asked Deputy Director General Do why she wanted to give him the case, she accidentally said that it was because he was getting closer to the truth. That's why they were paying attention to him. When Ji-hyuk questioned who they were referring to, Deputy Director General Do pretended not to know. Then Ji-hyuk met Pilho. Now the two were on opposite sides. When Ji-hyuk deliberately mentioned the name Sangmung in front of Pilho, he immediately turned to look at Ji-hyuk with disbelief. That confirmed Ji-hyuk's judgment. Pilho advised Ji-hyuk to be be careful not to let curiosity kill him. Pilho's warning made Ji-hyuk understand that Pilho and Deputy Director General Du must have known about Sang-mung's existence, but even someone with such a high position and power in the intelligence service was afraid to mention this organization. It seemed that it really couldn't be taken lightly. However, in order to find a breakthrough clue, he first went to find Jae to confirm who the person in the front corner of the decoded photo was. The result was extremely surprising. One of the people sitting at the same table with Chun-woo was the deputy director of the North Korean security agency, Young Chun. The current intelligence agency couldn't find out his whereabouts. But why did Chun-woo come into contact with such a high-ranking North Korean figure? What was even more strange was that even Chun-woo didn't know who the mysterious person with his back to the photo was. Chun-woo only said that person used to be an important figure in the intelligence agency. However, that person is also very likely to be Mo Sa, the manipulator behind the Hwaeon gang. But Ji-hyuk understands that Chun-woo is afraid and obeys the Sang-mung organization, so he wants to act from this organization first. The man surnamed Kim, who had the face-changing AI technology to harm Ji-hyuk, was an important breakthrough clue. Ji-hyuk immediately went to find that man surnamed Kim and used his family to threaten him to tell him the names of Sang-mung members. But the man surnamed Kim said that he had never seen any Sang-mung members. They had a very tight organization. They did not know each other. All communication was through a digital device. So Chun-woo probably had this kind of device. Seeing that, Ji-hyuk told Ji to go to Chun-woo's residence to conduct a search, but they did not get any results and only found some strange fluorescent powder. However, from investigating Chun-woo's documents, Ji discovered that during his spy mission, Chun-woo was almost exposed because he killed someone. Moreover, this action could easily lead to serious diplomatic consequences. Therefore, at that time, Deputy Director General Du was forced to order Chun-woo to be eliminated. But at that time, it was because Soo-yeon stepped in that Chun-woo's life was saved. This was probably one of the reasons why Chun-woo felt guilty for not being able to save Soo-yeon. Not only that, Chun-woo's records also showed that he had experimented with a drug called Jeep. This drug had been discovered inside Ji-hyuk's body. It was something used to selectively erase memories. Therefore, Ji-hyuk used his personal relationship to beg his colleagues working in the archives to quickly investigate this matter. On the way back, Ji-hyuk received news through the digital device of the man surnamed Kim. They informed him that the truth lay with the four heavenly kings. Seeing this, Ji-hyuk immediately got out of the car and went everywhere to look for the mysterious person with the same digital device, the type of device that can only communicate within 100 meters. The appearance of this notification was like a bell reminding Ji-hyuk. He guessed that Sang-mung's people were definitely monitoring him every minute and every second. Therefore, he had to speed up the investigation of this organization. While examining Chun-woo's body, Jae suddenly remembered that she had discovered some fluorescent powder inside the bathtub at Chun-woo's house. So she immediately ran to turn off the lights and then used ultraviolet rays to shine on Chun-woo's back. Unexpectedly, the fluorescent powder was arranged in a regular manner on it. Moreover, the person who killed Chun-woo seemed to have intentionally carved something on his back, so they scanned the small dots on Chun-woo's back but could not arrange them into an effective order. Just when Jae was still at a loss for what to do, Pilho suddenly came to find her. Pilho questioned Jae why she sent the original video to help Ji-hyuk, but Jae said that she didn't do it because when she felt regretful and was about to send it, she found out that someone had sent it before her. Pilho also wanted to continue to use the clue about Jae's father as a condition and asked her to continue to help him pay attention to Ji-hyuk, but Jae flatly refused. She said that she didn't want to be like Soo-yeon, being controlled by Pilho and then having to live in regret. However, the secret conversation between the two of them was eavesdropped on by Ji-hyuk. After all, if he has been betrayed once, there will be a second time. Therefore, Ji-hyuk had asked Deputy Director General Du early on to allow him to eavesdrop on Jae's phone, thereby determining that he wouldn't be betrayed again. However, this also made him even more confused. In the end, who was the one who secretly sent the original video to help him? Who sent him the information about the clue? Furthermore, the message the digital device received this morning was clearly a notification specifically for him. Everything seemed to be getting more and more chaotic. Just when Ji-hyuk's train of thought was in a mess, Jae suddenly called. She said that she had discovered the secret on Chun-woo's back. She discovered that the small dots were a QR code. The information that the QR code wanted to provide was about a rare disease. Through the database, she found people with this disease. The total number of people with this disease was less than 20. One of the patients on the list was one of the founders of the intelligence agency, the high-ranking leader Pyong-il, nicknamed the Devil King, who had had long since retired. But the strange thing was, why Chunwoo kept Pyong-il's information? Did the 4 heavenly kings appearing in the announcement imply that this devil king was one of them? To clarify this, the 2 of them started investigating this person, but the receptionist said that Pyong-il had long been discharged from the hospital. Furthermore, the information about that person was confidential and could not be disclosed. Unless there was an investigation order, it could not be provided. Therefore, the 2 of them could only leave temporarily. However, Ji-hyuk and Jae both discovered the abnormality of the receptionist. The other party was clearly hiding something. Furthermore, the rare disease that Pyong-il had did not allow him to leave the hospital at will. Therefore, the 2 of them judged that he was definitely still hiding there. Through the hospital's diagram, they discovered that during the several renovations, there was still an unplanned mezzanine floor. Jae then returned to the hospital to investigate. Through the time interval between the elevators, she discovered that the travel time between the 2nd and 3rd floors was clearly 5 seconds longer than usual. Therefore, they judged that there must be a mezzanine floor inside the hospital. Just as the 2 of them were about to act, Ji-hyuk received a call from a colleague working in the archives department. The colleague said that the person in charge of researching the Jeep medicine had been found. That was Ji-hyuk's doctor. Ji-hyuk then went to question the doctor. It was obvious that she was the one who participated in the Jeep development project. So why did she hide it from all? Him. Faced with pressure from Ji-hyuk, the doctor could only tell the truth. The person who wanted her to hide these truths from Ji-hyuk was Section Chief Ha. At this moment, countless thoughts appeared in Ji-hyuk's mind. Ji-hyuk rushed into Section Chief Ha's office and questioned, "Isn't you the one who always gives me suggestions and helps me?" After listening to Section Chief Ha, it was as if he saw a shining light. Section Chief Ha put down the pen in his hand and slowly approached Ji-hyuk, asking if you had remembered. Seeing Ji-hyuk's eyes filled with questions, Section Chief Ha knew that Ji-hyuk had recovered part of his memories through investigation, so Chief Ha stopped pretending and told Ji-hyuk frankly that everything I did was because you forced me to do it. It turned out that 2 months before Ji-hyuk returned to the intelligence agency, Ji-hyuk took advantage of Section Chief Ha's embezzlement of previous intelligence funds to threaten and ask Chief Ha to go to the border between China and North Korea to find him. After a while of interrogation, Ji-hyuk determined that Section Chief Ha was not a spy. Ji-hyuk asked Chief Ha to help him return to the intelligence agency. First, Section Chief Ha would take out a memory-erasing drug from the intelligence agency. After Ji-hyuk erased his memories of a year ago, Section Chief Ha would arrange for a boat to cross the border and return to his country. But the boat did not arrive on time, so Section Chief Ha reported to the Coast Guard to investigate. As a result, Ji-hyuk used that brutal method to return to the intelligence agency. Then Section Chief Ha will use the code to give hints and place the USB in the locker, providing clues to Jae Smwantp's. Then he sent the original video to prove Ji-hyuk's innocence. All of this was done with the help of Section Chief Ha. However, Ji-hyuk asked Section Ha, "If you really helped me do so many things because I knew your weaknesses." Section Chief Ha said that he had always been willing to dedicate himself to the country, and it was normal for him to have personal greed at times. But when he witnessed many colleagues being betrayed and murdered, he also wanted to know the truth of the incident. That's why he was willing to help Ji-hyuk unconditionally, with the purpose of finding the real culprit behind it together. However, the information that Ji-hyuk had sent to Section Chief Ha could only be received when the deadline came. Therefore, Ji-hyuk could only find the remaining memories bit by bit. On this side, Jae discovered a strange scene inside the surveillance camera. After the nurse swiped her card, she pressed the buttons of 2 floors at the same time to go to a mezzanine. So Jae followed this clue and immediately knocked the nurse out. At the same time, she left a message for Ji-hyuk to come and help her immediately. Then Jae went through a series of operations to reach the mezzanine. She discovered a pile of medicine shells used to put people into a state of clinical death. Only then did she realize that this place was not a hospital room, but a prison cell used to detain living people. She finally found Pyong-il's room. Jae originally wanted to ask Ji-hyuk for help, but she found that there was no signal here at all. She had no choice but to push Pyong-il out, but halfway there, she encountered a security guard. In a desperate moment, Jae shot the security guard, injuring him. Then Jae hurriedly ran to the hospital door and successfully put Pyong-il into an ambulance. The other party didn't ask anything and just accepted the patient. Just as Ji was about to get in the car with this person, this one discovered that the other party wasn't a medical staff. Very quickly after that, a gun was pointed at her back, and the other party asked her not to act rashly. It wasn't until the other party left that Jae turned around and pulled out her gun to shoot, but she saw the face of a man who was both strange and familiar appearing in the rearview mirror. This scene made her stunned. Fortunately, Ji-hyuk chased chased after them in time. After shaking off the security guard, the two of them tried their best to chase after the car in front. But from this point, it could be seen that the security guard and the person who robbed Pyong-il belonged to two different groups. Very quickly, Ji-hyuk's digital device received a message. The content was a warning that if they continued to chase, they would die. This made Ji-hyuk certain that the person in front was not from the Sangmung organization. Then the people who killed Chun-woo were probably these people. After all, Chun-woo's lost digital device was most likely in the hands of these people. Sure enough, the other party quickly stopped the car, pushed Pyong-il out of the car, and transmitted through the device that this was a gift for them. Before the two of them could understand the meaning of the sentence, two consecutive gunshots rang out. Pyong-il was killed right in front of Ji-hyuk. It turned out that the other party wanted to prove that he and the Sangmung organization were in opposition to each other. Therefore, Ji-hyuk wanted to know even more who the force that was also tempting him was. Ji-hyuk told Jae to drive instead while he slowly walked forward. The other party threw a grenade. The grenade rolled straight under the car. Fortunately, Ji-hyuk reacted quickly enough to get Jae away from there, but the explosion still knocked Ji-hyuk unconscious. Jae remained conscious under Ji-hyuk's protection. When Jae saw the man about to attack Ji-hyuk, she staggered to her feet. She wanted to confirm whether this man, both familiar and strange, was her long-lost father. The man did not say a word from beginning to end, but when she saw the wound on the man's arm that was exactly like her father's back then, Jae could not hide the surprise in her eyes. But just as Jae was about to speak, the man fired a gun at her and then brazenly left. After that, Ji-hyuk slowly regained consciousness. The impact of the explosion made Ji-hyuk slowly recall some memories. But when Ji-hyuk saw Jae lying on the ground, he immediately went to check. Fortunately, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. After waking up, Jae told Ji-hyuk that the man was likely her father. Although Pilho had told her that the man's current name was Mo-sa, the arm with the wound on it was the arm of her father in her memory. Ji-hyuk determined that the person was Mo-sa. This person was the one who killed Chun-woo, took his digital device, and intentionally revealed the clue to Ji-hyuk. Then, let Ji-hyuk follow the clue to investigate, from which he found out who was from the Sangmung organization, then publicly dealt with Sangmung's people right in front of Ji-hyuk. From there, he clearly showed his stance to show the power of the other side, but the existing digital device was destroyed in the explosion earlier. Jae told Ji-hyuk that before the grenade exploded, she received a final message sent to that device. It said not to look for answers from the outside. At this moment, Ji-hyuk suddenly remembered this familiar saying. Pilho had said the same thing to Ji-hyuk before. But as time passed, Deputy Director General Do could not keep his promise to solve the case and was forced to resign. Deputy Director General Lee seemed very pleased with the departure of the opposing force, so at the party celebrating the Director General's first year in office, he took the initiative to raise his glass and declare his sovereignty right in front of the Director General. At the same time, he asked the Director General to immediately consider Pilho for the position of head of the Overseas Department and proposed to cut down the staff of this department. Faced with this confident attitude of Deputy Director General Lee, the Director General could only endure when he saw the situation tilted to one side. It seemed that he had made a mistake. Now, no one could control Director General Lee anymore. Before officially leaving the position of Deputy Director General Do, she hoped that Ji-hyuk could continue to stand firm and persistently maintain what he had to maintain. Ji-hyuk knew that time was urgent. With the help of the technical department, Ji-hyuk found the company that programmed the digital device. The two went to find the person in charge, Chairman Shin. Chairman Shin himself confirmed that this was the program he had written himself, but that was many years ago, so he doesn't remember anymore. Now their company has become a leading internet technology company, thanks to the precise collection of data, identifying the characteristics of users' behavioral habits and search preferences, then selling that data to shopping platforms for profit. Therefore, he has never had any connection with the National Intelligence Agency. It seemed like Ji-hyuk had returned with failure, but when sitting in the car, Ji-hyuk discovered that the song sequence he heard in Chairman Shin's office earlier was exactly the same as the sequence in his car. Moreover, the water and sweets brought to them earlier were also the two people's favorites. From these points, it was not difficult to deduce that the other party was showing off his abilities, and at the same time warning the two people that they knew all of their actions. Later, when the two returned to the intelligence agency, they coincidentally met Deputy Director General Lee. He walked over and mocked Ji-hyuk, saying that you had a wide network of connections and even knew the boss of that internet technology company. Obviously, Deputy Director General Lee was also warning Ji-hyuk that I was also eyeing you, so Ji-hyuk should stop causing trouble. When the two returned to the department, they found out that they had been transferred to the domestic department. Ji-hyuk immediately went to Pil-ho, who had just been promoted, to ask why he was transferred from the overseas department. Pil-ho only told Ji-hyuk to just obey orders and that he didn't need to care about anything else. But Ji-hyuk said that he couldn't understand Pil-ho anymore. Just because Pil-ho was promoted, he was willing to sacrifice so many people. But Pil-ho said angrily that he did it all to protect them. After hearing these words, Ji-hyuk felt even funnier. Ji-hyuk asked Pil-ho back why you couldn't protect Soo-yeon. Ji-hyuk then took out a photo from his person and said that this was a relic that Soo-yeon left behind. After Pil-ho saw the photo, his eyes welled up with tears. That photo was a photo of him and Soo-yeon together. It turned out that Pil-ho was Soo-yeon's ex-boyfriend, but the reason he broke up with Soo-yeon was because she felt guilty towards him. Deputy Director General Lee was very pleased now. It seemed that he was very satisfied with current situation. After all, Deputy Director General Do's right-hand man, Pil-ho, had now become his man. But this made Director Jung dissatisfied. Turned out that a year ago, the one who sent Soo-yeon to work here was Deputy Director General Lee, but Director Jung was very dissatisfied with Deputy Director General Lee's arrangement. Director Jung served and obeyed Deputy Director General Lee, but in the end, he got nothing in return. Even now, Director Jung has barely gotten any promotion. In a fit of anger, Director Jung took some confidential documents to Pil-ho and handed them over to him. Director Jung did this to prepare a way out for himself. Ji-hyuk and Jae used the technology company as a base and found some clues through it. They investigated and found that someone had accidentally gotten into a car accident while investigating the company. What made people feel even stranger was that during the investigation, it was discovered that both person and the car seemed to be under someone's control, and they crazily crashed into the guardrail and died. What was even stranger was that Ji-hyuk also received a report from Section Chief Ha. Section Chief Ha said that Pil-ho had also been secretly investigating the technology company recently. It seemed that the technology company was very suspicious. While Jae was investigating the remains of the dead investigator, she discovered that the other party had found a social psychology research company, but that company had already moved to another location. Following this clue, she discovered that the psychology company was related to a man named Kim from the Sangmung organization. It seemed that the Sangmung organization was definitely related to that technology company. So Ji-hyuk went to find the man named Kim again. From Miss Kim, Ji-hyuk learned that a few years ago, this man had introduced 2 psychology professors to the Sangmung organization, but he didn't know what the organization specifically asked the 2 of them to do. So Ji-hyuk and Jae continued to investigate according to this clue. Through investigating the accounts of the 2 Kia professors, Jae learned that at a fixed interval of time, their accounts would receive a large sum of money. Moreover, looking at the transfer pattern, it could be seen that they were all transferred before the election night. So she compared the time of the next transfers with the election time and found that they were completely identical. When they thought about the technology company, the 2 of them understood the truly terrifying point of the Sangmung organization. This organized were using the power of psychologists and the internet to understand the psychology of voters and thereby manipulate the votes to help person they wanted to elect. It seemed that the Sangmung organization could even manipulate the powerful senior leaders of the intelligence agency. This organization turned these people into their puppets. A year before the incident with Ji-hyuk's group, there was also an election, so Ji-hyuk immediately went to find intelligence from the Chinese side. At first, the other side did not want to reveal the intelligence to Ji-hyuk, but Deputy Director General Do secretly coordinated with the senior leaders of the Chinese side and asked the female intelligence officer to provide information to Ji-hyuk. Every time there was an election in South Korea, there would be some incidents in the relationship between the South and North Korea that would disrupt the election. The deputy director of the North Korean Security Bureau, Young Chun, that Ji-hyuk had always wanted to find out about, had actually died a year ago. Moreover, the day Young Chun died was also the day Ji-hyuk's group had an incident. Ji-hyuk then remembered that he was originally following Moo Soon at that time, but accidentally discovered Chun Woo had an appointment with the deputy director of the North Korean Security Bureau. It seemed that the Sangmung organization at that time wanted to force Young Chun to cooperate in disrupting the election, thereby changing the situation within Korea. But the strange thing was that at that time, Chun Woo also gave the person who had his back turned to him a USB. However, based on their current memories, the group was clearly monitoring Young Chun. Why did Chun Woo suddenly see the scene of Young Chun being murdered? Furthermore, where was the crime scene, and who was present there? Why were Ji-hyuk and Young Chun's teammates murdered? These questions made Ji-hyuk's head ache. At this moment, Jae called and told him that on the phone of the victim in the technology company investigation, there was a number from the intelligence agency, but that number was encrypted, so it was impossible to find out who it was. Ji-hyuk received the phone number and immediately dialed, but the other party refused to say anything. Ji-hyuk told the other end of the line, "I already know about the Sangmung organization's plot and election manipulation methods. If you don't want these things to be exposed, then let's meet again at the parking lot." The other party quickly appeared at the parking lot, but as soon as Ji-hyuk appeared, this person immediately drove towards him. Ji-hyuk immediately fired back, and the car lost control and crashed into another car and stopped. Ji-hyuk then smashed the car window to see who Sangmung's people were inside. Surprisingly, the person Ji-hyuk saw in the car was Pil-ho, who was unconscious. Moreover, Pil-ho's foot was not on the gas pedal, but the wheels were still spinning continuously. Obviously, Pil-ho's car was being controlled by someone. Ji-hyuk quickly took Pil-ho to the emergency room. After Jae told Ji-hyuk the clue, she was stopped by Deputy Director General Lee in the parking lot. He said that the reason Jae's father went missing before was because her father was betrayed by someone inside the bureau. If she wanted to know who it was, she could look it up in the system based on the information he provided. Jae opened the file and saw that it was recorded that her father had been confirmed dead that year after the accident. The person who confirmed the information was Deputy Director General Do, so Jae immediately went to block the door of Deputy Director General Do's house that night. Jae raised her gun and asked Deputy Director General Do if you was the one who betrayed my father. Deputy Director General Do did not directly answer the question, but only said that she hoped Jae would use reason to look at these things. Deputy Director General Do also predicted that Jae would not dare to shoot. Therefore, Deputy Director General Do told Jae to continue searching for the truth with Ji-hyuk. Not far from where the two were standing, Mo-sa was quietly observing everything. Meanwhile, Ji-hyuk was at the hospital when he suddenly received a phone call from Section Chief Ha. Section Chief Ha said that he had received a letter that was scheduled to be sent. Section Chief Ha then sent the video that Ji-hyuk had recorded before he lost his memory to his phone. When Ji-hyuk opened it and saw the content, he was extremely shocked. In the video, Ji-hyuk revealed that the person who had secretly contacted the outsider was Dong-wook. Based on this answer, Ji-hyuk opened up another part of his memory. He recalled that the person standing next to Young Chun's body was Dong-wook. At the same time, Ji-hyuk, before losing his memory, reminded him that he would receive the final video a week later. It would expose the real murderer who killed his teammates. But before that, he had to find the spy inside the intelligence agency. Otherwise, even if he died, he would not be able to open the final video. As Ji-hyuk got closer and closer to the truth, Deputy Director General Lee stopped pretending. He directly ignored the Director General's suggestion and openly showed off his powerful resources and manpower, because in his eyes, the Director General was nothing more than a decoration. As Ji-hyuk continued to investigate Dong-wook, he knew that the person who recommended Dong-wook was Deputy Director General Lee. So Ji-hyuk went to find Jae and told her that Deputy Director General Lee was most likely the top leader of the Sangmung organization. They manipulated the election, thereby maintaining their position of power in the industry. But Jae acted very differently. She angrily scolded Deputy Director General Do for being the cruel and unscrupulous person. Deputy Director General Do betrayed her father to North Korea in exchange for power and fame. Ji-hyuk was curious where Jae got this information, but Jae not only did not answer, on the contrary, she questioned Ji-hyuk if he had colluded with Deputy Director General Do to wiretap her phone. Then she immediately took out her phone and slammed it on the ground. This smash was meant to imply that her partnership with Ji-hyuk had completely ended. Jae also quickly gained Deputy Director General Lee's trust. He had been monitoring them constantly, so he knew that this tactic of sowing discord had succeeded. Then Deputy Director General Lee turned to drag Jae. When Jae asked him back if he had anything to do with the Sangmung organization, he did not answer the question directly, but only told her a principle that the intelligence agency relied on people's fear to survive. So when people no longer feared them, then the intelligence agency would no longer need to continue to exist. Therefore, Deputy Director General Lee told Jae that as the highest leader of this place, he had the duty to protect the safety of the organization and the country. Therefore, no matter public opinion or political pressure, they could not do anything to them. This place was the secret base in the hands of Deputy Director General Lee, which was also an intelligence team that was even more formidable than the intelligence team of the agency. The system here was linked to the server of Chairman Shin's internet technology company. It could find information about anyone, anytime, anywhere. Therefore, thanks to this powerful control system, it can be said that the people have absolutely no privacy. And the most important thing this place is doing right now is investigating Mosa's whereabouts. This also means that Mosa and the Sangmung organization are now now at odds. Deputy Director General Lee intentionally let Jae work here. He asked her to personally search for Mosa's whereabouts, who is likely her father. Therefore, after weeks of observation, Jae discovered that the flashing lights in front of Deputy Director General Do's house looked like a code, but she didn't know what it meant. Therefore, she immediately told Deputy Director General Lee about this news. Deputy Director General Lee speculated that Deputy Director General Do was proactively contacting Mosa to meet because he felt that Mosa was one of the special agents who went missing when he was betrayed by Deputy Director General Do more than 10 years ago. Therefore, this time Mosa came here to take revenge on Deputy Director General Do. So everyone turned their attention to Deputy Director General Do. Very quickly, they caught her meeting Mosa alone. Seeing that, Deputy Director General Lee had someone lie in ambush and eavesdrop on their conversation. At the same time, he had a sniper continuously aim at Mosa. But the strange thing was that Ji-hyuk suddenly rushed to the area near the scene. It turned out that Jae had not completely cut off Ji-hyuk. If she could not escape the surveillance of the San Mung organization, she would have to find a way to join it. Therefore, after knowing that Deputy Director General Lee was likely to be a high-ranking leader of San Mung, Jae and Ji-hyuk decided to act out a scene for him. From there, they made him trust Jae and let Jae enter his central agency. That way, she could transmit important intelligence to Ji-hyuk at any time. Just like that, at the crucial moment, Ji-hyuk directly fired a shot to remind the two people who were meeting. The sniper who was in ambush saw this and immediately opened fire. However, the subordinate next to Mosa used his body to block the bullet. Seeing this, both sides immediately evacuated. Mosa, who had been prepared, immediately detonated the bomb hidden there, causing the people on Deputy Director General Do's side to faint on the spot. Seeing this, Mosa slowly approached and planned to deal with Deputy Director General Do. But at this moment, Mosa was suddenly called back by the person standing behind. It turned out that Ji-hyuk had arrived in time. Ji-hyuk used Mosa's subordinate as a hostage, but Mosa suddenly smiled strangely. Mosa told Ji-hyuk that you and I both wanted to find the target and eliminate it. Therefore, there are many similarities between the two of us. You and I both wanted revenge and went to seek the truth. Mosa told Ji-hyuk that I understand you better than you do. A series of words that charmed Mosa made Ji-hyuk gradually sink into doubt, but Mosa seemed to really understand Ji-hyuk. Mosa told Ji-hyuk to wait until he recalled those memories, and he would find that his life was worse than death. But what no one expected was that Mosa would shoot and kill his subordinate, who was being threatened by Ji-hyuk. Then Mosa jumped onto the rescue boat and escaped. After Deputy Director Do General woke up, Ji-hyuk went to find her. From her, he knew that a year ago, Mosa had collaborated with Deputy Director General Lee to cause chaos before the election. At the same time, after she learned about this, the Bloody Friday incident also happened. The agents who died in that incident were all from the Overseas Department. So Deputy Director General Do was very sure that these things were all done by Deputy Director General Lee because he had always been jealous of the Overseas Department holding the top position in the intelligence agency. Deputy Director General Lee wanted to eliminate the opposition, so he used this despicable method to deal with her. In order to search for evidence, Deputy Director General Do arranged for Ji-hyuk's team to set out and specially used Dong-wook as her contact. When she discovered that they wanted to take advantage of Young Chun, Deputy Director General Do had the intention of killing people. This ruined their plan. But she did not order Dong-wook to kill Young Chun. Hearing this answer, the only thing that Ji-hyuk still did not understand was Dong-wook's appearance at the crime scene. But if he did not kill the person, then who did it? It can be determined that Chun Woo was working for the San Mung organization at that time. Who killed Young Chun is still a mystery. In addition, it can be determined that Deputy Director General Lee was the mastermind. Therefore, Ji-hyuk started from Director Jung, who was abandoned by Deputy Director General Lee. Ji-hyuk cooperated with Section Chief Ha to arrange a group of people in black to seize the opportunity to kidnap Director Jung. At the same time, this one threatened to kill Director Jung and then pretended to make a mistake to let him escape. Ji-hyuk then made an appointment to meet Director Jung and told him not to let Deputy Director General Lee deal with you like Pil-ho and Soo-yeon. Director Jung heard that and decided to rebel. He told Ji-hyuk that the person who caused the incident that leaked the list of agents to Mosa was Deputy Director General Lee. What was even more surprising was that Deputy Director General Do had done the same thing more than 10 years ago. It was just that at that time, she betrayed all the agents of the Overseas Department to the North Korean Security Agency. But at that time, 2 agents were lucky to survive. One of them was the current Mosa, and it was also possible that he was Jae's father. This was also something that Deputy Director General Lee had recently investigated, so he regretted cooperating with Mosa, allowing Mosa Ja to become an unpredictable threat. Sure enough, the spy was Deputy Director General Lee. Ji-hyuk found the real culprit, which meant he could see the last video. So he wanted to find a breakthrough first at the technology company that Deputy Director General Lee was most proud of. Ji-hyuk guessed that Chairman Shin would keep the documents about Deputy Director General Lee and the Sangmung organization to himself, so that Ji-hyuk threatened him to hand over the documents immediately, or he would have to face the consequences. At this moment, Deputy Director General Lee appeared. He told Ji-hyuk not to waste efforts. He told Ji-hyuk that everything you did was for the sake of the intelligence agency's further development. Otherwise, every time the organization changed, they would be replaced. He had served 21 directors general, so he didn't want to continue being someone else's pawn. Instead, he wanted to be the one holding the chessboard. At the same time, he advised Ji-hyuk to join his side and control the entire country. But Ji-hyuk said that what he called protecting the intelligence agency was meaningless. In fact, he wanted to turn it into his powerful toy. Ji-hyuk would use all his strength to expose them. Seeing that persuasion was ineffective, Deputy Director General Lee used Jae to threaten Ji-hyuk. He had guessed the plan that Jae would use, so he gave Ji-hyuk two options. Ji-hyuk would surrender immediately, or Jae would die right now. Reluctantly, Ji-hyuk could only lay down his gun and surrender. Just when Deputy Director General Lee thought he had a sure victory in his hands, his phone suddenly rang. It turned out to be Pil-ho calling. Before Ji-hyuk could act, he contacted Pil-ho, who had just woken up. Ji-hyuk told Pil-ho to summon all the leaders of the intelligence agency to reveal the truth to everyone. Seeing that, Deputy Director General Lee could only stop because he was also very curious about what the real truth was. Unexpectedly, when the truth was announced, everyone was very surprised, and the most shocked person was Ji-hyuk, because the one who killed his comrade was Ji-hyuk. Hearing his previous self recount everything, he finally understood the matter clearly. At that time, when completing the mission to prepare for the evacuation, the messenger Chae-yoon told Ji-hyuk that there was a spy in their organization. Therefore, after receiving the final intelligence, Ji-hyuk began to observe the two people beside him. When changing the position of monitoring the target, he discovered the high-ranking leader of North Korea, Young Chun, and also the high-ranking agent of the intelligence agency, Chun Woo. The strangest thing was that stranger. Then, through binoculars, he discovered that Chun Woo gave that mysterious person a USB and then gave a file to Young Chun. But after Young Chun opened it and looked at it, he went crazy and immediately left. Seeing the appearance of a high-ranking North Korean official in this incident, the teammates all felt that the incident had escalated. A spy appeared within the organization. Soo-yeon's boyfriend Kyung-soo felt obliged to report to his superiors and immediately evacuate, or else there would be big trouble. But Dong-woo said that this matter was related to the fate of the nation, so he could not leave. Because of this, the two of them had a dispute. Ji-hyuk, as the team leader, decided to continue observing and reported this to Deputy Director General Do. After that, Ji-hyuk quietly observed the actions of the two teammates. Ji-hyuk discovered that Kyung-suk was secretly making phone calls to outsiders. But when Ji-hyuk picked up the phone to check, it was all call logs with Soo-yeon. Kyung-suk saw this and said that Dong-wook had been acting strangely recently. Obviously, something was not quite right. Ji-hyuk also sensed it, so he immediately ordered the two of them to take turns monitoring. But not long after that, both of them left their positions without any contact. In the urgent situation, Ji-hyuk ignored the risk of being exposed and immediately rushed into the hotel to investigate. As a result, he did not find any trace of the two of them. At the same time, while searching for Young Chun's floor, Ji-hyuk discovered something unusual. When Ji-hyuk went to check on the situation, he found Young Chun lying in a pool of blood. The person standing next to Young Chun was Dong-wook. Dong-wook said that he did not do this. Dong-wook said that everything was like this as soon as he arrived. Before Dong-wook could explain further, the sound of police suddenly rang out from outside the door. If the local police caught them, this would be an extremely serious diplomatic incident. Therefore, Ji-hyuk took Dong-wook and left first. Ji-hyuk escaped later and accidentally caught Chun-woo leaving. When Ji-hyuk returned to the scene of the action, he found Dong-wook and Kyung-suk pointing guns at each other. Ji-hyuk advised the two to put down their weapons first and calm down. But seeing that Kyung-suk was in a state of agitation, Dong-wook pulled the trigger and shot Kyung-suk dead on the spot. Dong-wook then put down the gun in his hand and told Ji-hyuk that if he didn't kill Kyung-suk, then the two of them would die. Ji-hyuk couldn't believe the person who had just killed his teammate. His mind was filled with doubts. Ji-hyuk only saw Dong-wook's expression suddenly change, as if he had seen something. Dong-wook then immediately raised his gun and shot at Ji-hyuk. Ji-hyuk reacted and immediately shot back, killing Dong-wook. At this moment, Ji-hyuk suddenly realized that something was wrong. Ji-hyuk felt that Dong-wook's desire to kill him was just a misunderstanding, so he turned around and saw Chun-woo lying on the ground. It turned out that Dong-wook had immediately opened fire to stop Chun-woo to protect Ji-hyuk. Ji-hyuk was extremely regretful at this moment. Looking at the ringing phone on Dong-wook's body, he took it out to look. It turned out that Dong-wook's wife had sent a photo of their child. Ji-hyuk completely collapsed. He watched his teammates slaughter each other. Then he accidentally killed the teammate who saved him. It was their suspicion that swallowed them all. After that incident, Ji-hyuk fell into extreme pain. He could not figure out who the mole inside the organization was. During that time, Ji-hyuk was always on the verge of collapse. That's why he came up with the last resort of using the Jeep medicine inside the bureau to erase the painful memories, then returned to the bureau to investigate and gradually expose the truth. Finally, he found the real culprit behind it. The Ji-hyuk of the past told him that he must stop at nothing, regardless of the cost, and must eliminate those spies. His memories gradually awakened, so Ji-hyuk immediately took action. He immediately took down several bodyguards, then pointed his gun at Deputy Director General Lee. Ji-hyuk wanted to avenge his teammates and himself, but Jae-yi stood up to stop Ji-hyuk. Once again, Ji-hyuk encountered the dissuasion of his teammates. That made his spirit stimulated to the point of fainting. Later, Ji-hyuk was arrested for the crime of killing his teammates, but Deputy Director General Lee's side could not find any evidence. Deputy Director Lee General understood that he had to take this opportunity to completely eliminate them, so he held a disciplinary meeting and requested internal handling of Ji-hyuk. Pil-ho tried his best to protect Ji-hyuk, even using his status as Deputy Director of the Overseas Department to protect Ji-hyuk. Later, Pil-ho came to Ji-hyuk and said that he had indeed hidden Deputy Director General Do from cooperating with Deputy Director General Lee that year. The main purpose was to prevent Deputy Director General Do from implicating the entire Overseas Department. So at that time, Pil-ho asked Soo-yeon to get intelligence through Kyung-suk and send it to Deputy Director General Lee. Unexpectedly, he became the one who was used by Deputy Director General Lee. Therefore, when Soo-yeon wanted to escape from Sangmung and expose Deputy Director General Lee in that organization, Pil-ho had stopped her and forced her to listen to his arrangements. But after Kyung-suk died, Soo-yeon no longer trusted Pil-ho, so the Sangmung organization took the opportunity and murdered her. Pil-ho told Ji-hyuk that he would take responsibility for all mistakes and hoped that Ji-hyuk would cheer up. At the same time, Pil-ho also told Ji-hyuk that there were some memories that were not necessarily true. The truth must be found by oneself to have a chance to be revealed. Ji-hyuk immediately regained his fighting spirit. Then he went to find Deputy Director General Do. Deputy Director General Do also confirmed that Kyung-suk was Sangmung's man based on Ji-hyuk's video that day. Therefore, Kyung-suk and Soo-yeon becoming a couple was likely also one of Sangmung's plans. That day, after Dong-wook discovered Kyung-suk's abnormality, Dong-wook followed him. When Dong-wook chased him, Dong-wook discovered that Young Chun had been murdered. Deputy Director General Do understood the situation and immediately warned Dong-wook that if he discovered Sangmung's man, he had to be extremely careful because the other party would definitely kill everyone else to cover up this matter. That's why Dong-wook shot Kyung-suk. This scene also indirectly led to Ji-hyuk accidentally killing Dong-wook. Deputy Director General Do originally thought that Ji-hyuk had found enough evidence to defeat Sangmung, but now Deputy Director General Lee successfully hid everything and held ultimate power. Therefore, Deputy Director General Do made a proposal to cooperate with Ji-hyuk. Very quickly, Ji-hyuk gathered Pil-ho, Section Chief Ha and Jae-yi to carry out a plan to overthrow Deputy Director General Lee. At the same time, he introduced them to a new member, Director Jung. Director Jung revealed that if they wanted to grasp Deputy Director General Lee's secret, they had to start with Chairman Shin. They took advantage of Chairman Shin stealing people's personal information and driving a car to kill people who knew the secret. There was also the case of driving a car to kill a congressman. Just relying on these things was enough to make him lose everything. Then they went to find Chairman Shin to inform him that they had evidence of his crime. They wanted Chairman Shin to hand over the evidence of Deputy Director General Lee's crimes and the list of Sangmung's organization members. Only then would he receive leniency. At the same time, Director Jung secretly met with Deputy Director General Lee and told him about Ji-hyuk's plan. Deputy Director General Lee did not react at all after hearing it, but only said that I had already finished planning it. After using Chairman Shin to encrypt the system, I would quickly eliminate him. Then Deputy Director General Lee went to the technology company with anger, wanting to give Chairman Shin a final ultimatum, but he found that the person waiting there was Pil-ho. Pil-ho immediately ordered people to surround Deputy Director General Lee and said that he had evidence of their crimes in his hands. It turned out that Director Jung was a double agent. Director Jung deliberately leaked the news of Chairman Shin's betrayal and then secretly recorded what Deputy Director General Lee said and played it for Chairman Shin to hear. Chairman Shin also knew that Deputy Director General Lee was a ruthless person, so he would definitely do something despicable. Therefore, Chairman Shin cooperated with them and handed over the evidence of Deputy Director General Lee's crime to ensure that he would not be harmed by the Sangmung organization. Deputy Director General Lee was arrested and could only send a cry for help to the other members of Sangmung. He begged them to save him, or else he and Sangmung would disappear together. Ji-hyuk also came to the cell to question Deputy Director General Lee. Ji-hyuk asked if he had ordered Kyung-suk to kill North Korean leader Young Chun a year ago. He immediately denied it, because that night he did not receive Young Chun's consent to defect from North Korea to cause chaos to help him. So he arranged for Kyung-suk to go check, but found that Young Chun had been murdered. The person who murdered Young Chun was Mosa. This shocked Ji-hyuk, but what surprised him the most was still behind. When he investigated further, Ji-hyuk understood that Mosa wanted to kill Young Chun that year because Mosa was once a member of the intelligence agency. After the list of special agents was leaked, Mosa was lucky to survive and stay in North Korea. The person who tortured Mosa to the point of forcing him to change his appearance was Young Chun, who was the deputy director of the security agency at that time. Therefore, Mosa's killing of Young Chun could be considered as revenge. But because of that, Sangmung's plan was disrupted. Deputy Director General Lee also did not understand the situation clearly, so he cooperated with Mosa. But in the end, he leaked the list of special agents of the overseas department again. So when Ji-hyuk recounted what happened at that time, Deputy Director General Lee immediately understood that what Mosa wanted was to destroy the entire intelligence agency. Then, in order to protect the intelligence agency, Deputy Director General Lee secretly ordered people to capture Mosa. But Chun-woo died even more tragically and was hung in a crowded place in order to declare war on the intelligence agency. At this time, Deputy Director Lee asked Ji-hyuk back, "Do you still think I'm a monster?" At this time, Ji-hyuk remembered that when he observed, he discovered that Mosa had saluted him. Unexpectedly, Mosa had included him in the plan from the very beginning. Through this, one could see Mosa's depth. Facing an enemy like Mosa made Ji-hyuk feel a little scared. However, Deputy Director General Lee's debt must be paid in blood, so Ji-hyuk reminded him to wait to receive his punishment. When Ji-hyuk left the cell, he encountered Deputy Director General Lee's former subordinate, Section Chief Kim. Ji-hyuk had not gone far when he received a call from Jae saying that she was still monitoring the suspect, Section Chief Kim. At this time, Ji-hyuk suddenly realized that something was wrong. When he returned to the cell, he found Deputy Director General Lee was hanged from the ceiling. Ji-hyuk immediately rushed to the rescue. Fortunately, it was not too late. After first aid, Deputy Director General Lee regained some consciousness, so he immediately told Ji-hyuk that Mosa did it. Then he fell into a coma. It turned out that all of this was Sangmung's plot. They guessed that Mosa's target was not Sangmung but the intelligence agency. Therefore, they chose the Director General as a new member and assigned this one the task of making a deal with Mosa so that Mosa would have the opportunity to personally take revenge and kill the real culprit who betrayed him. Mosa is indeed extremely dangerous, so Ji-hyuk went to find the subordinates, but the other party said that he had never met Mosa. This person only knew that Mosa had control over the underground transactions in the border area, and that all the members were personally selected by him. They were all absolutely loyal to Mosa, and the reason Mosa came to Korea was to do something so big that it would completely turn this country upside down. On this side, Section Chief Ha reported to Pil-ho about the assassination of Deputy Director General Lee, that the only person still in power was the Director General. He suspected that the Director General was also Sangmung's man, but right now, he had no way to handle this matter. Therefore, Deputy Director General Du, who had just been reinstated, immediately mobilized her staff. First, they started searching for the dangerous character Mosa. Through the screening investigation of the technical department, it was discovered that when Deputy Director General Du and Mosa met, all the surveillance tapes collected by the department had been erased. Moreover, there was no trace of a hacker attack. Through the tracing technique, they discovered that someone had used the malware that Sangjun had released to attack the intelligence agency before to launch a second attack. That was why this situation had appeared. This also made Jae very confused. At that time, she felt that something was wrong. Although Sangjun was a genius hacker, he was not good at using malware as bait to attack. Therefore, Jae and Ji-hyuk went to find Sangjun, but they found that when Sangjun knew that the mastermind behind his father's murder had been arrested, he was not surprised at all. He also said that they had not received appropriate punishment. Thanks to that, Ji-hyuk and Jae also saw the clue. They speculated that Sangjun must have been taken advantage of by someone else. Through monitoring Sangjun, they discovered that he had contact with a subordinate under Mosa. Based on the movement route of the two, Do, they discovered a mysterious factory. The area around that area had a very high energy consumption, so they suspected that this place was Mossa's base. Immediately, the force led by Ji Hyuk and Chief Ha launched a surprise attack. But while searching for their teammates in front, they were blown up by a bomb. It seemed that the enemy had prepared in advance. Before their team could react, the battle had already begun to accelerate. Mossa also deliberately revealed himself to lure Ji Hyuk towards that direction. When Ji Hyuk found Mossa, he smiled strangely. Then Mossa pressed the switch in his hand, and the entire factory immediately exploded. The moment the explosion occurred, a white electric pulse spread in all directions. All electronic devices in the surrounding area could no longer be used. Just when Mossa appeared with the intention of eliminating Ji Hyuk, he was stopped by Jae, who ran over with a gun. Jae called Mossa Dad, which stunned him for a moment. It seemed that Mossa was shaken, but after hesitating for a while, Mossa raised his gun and pointed it at Jae. Jae instinctively shot back, injuring Mossa. Very quickly, Mossa's men rushed over. Finally, with the support of the smoke bomb, Mossa's group escaped from this place. Moreover, among the cars in the surrounding area, only Mossa's car could start. Only then did Deputy Director General Do know that Mossa had placed an electric shock bomb at the scene. The moment the bomb exploded, it would cause all electronic devices in the surrounding area to stop working. However, Mossa's car had an anti-electrocution device installed, so he was able to leave safely. After the incident, the technical department restored the damaged computer at the scene and found part of the document related to information about Seoul National Cemetery. As soon as she heard this news, Deputy Director General Do remembered that a few days ago, the director wanted her to attend the memorial service for the martyrs. That location was also the Seoul National Cemetery mentioned in the documents. That day, many high-ranking officials would attend. Combined with what Mossa had said to Ji Hyuk before, Deputy Director General Do felt that Mossa's target was her, so she decided to turn herself into bait. At the same time, there were a few other series of numbers in that computer. Ji Hyuk remembered that the container with that serial number had once held a master drug maker, not something that could destroy the whole of Korea like Chae-yoon said. So Ji Hyuk asked someone in the archives department to investigate clearly. At the same time, he checked the inside of the other containers, because it was very likely that inside were bombs that Mossa had brought, not drugs. At the same time, Jae received a call from a priest. He was the priest that Jae often visited. The priest said that a few days ago, he might have met an extremely dangerous person. He said that a few days ago a man came to repent. The man said that that year, he and his teammates were imprisoned and suffered all kinds of inhumane torture, but they would rather die than submit. When the two of them were imprisoned in that hell on earth, they both felt that there was no hope of living anymore. So the dying teammate asked the remaining teammate to end his life to end those days of suffering. Seeing his teammate in despair, he strangled this one to death, then pulled out a bone from his teammate's body. In the middle of the night, he sharpened it, then used it to kill the gatekeeper and escaped from that hell on earth. But since then, he seemed to have become a different person. He didn't know who he was and only knew that he had killed his comrades to save himself. The reason they were in that situation was because they were abandoned by their superiors. They had naively thought that what they were protecting was the entire country, but in reality, it was only the interests of a small group of people in power. Therefore, he wanted to take revenge and expose these secrets to the people. At the same time, make those people pay the price. Then the man left. Before leaving, the man declared that after a few days, after successfully taking revenge, he would come back to confess his sins. Hearing the other person's past and tone, Ji felt that this person was very similar to her father, so she told this story to Ji Hyuk. Perhaps because her father had experienced those stimuli, he transformed himself into a different person and became the current Mossa. But when Ji Hyuk asked if the other person was really her father, would she shoot him? Jae replied that if Mossa, who had done such a terrible thing to the country and its people, was really her father, then she asked Ji Hyuk to punish him for her. Very quickly, the action began. According to the plan, everyone would lie in ambush around and wait for Mossa to appear. However, when the technical department was analyzing the previously leaked data, they discovered that the guest list had been modified and that the person who modified it was Sung Jun. Ji Hyuk immediately compared the list and quickly found the unusual employee. Ji Hyuk quickly opened fire to deal with the opponent, but when Ji Hyuk got closer, he discovered that had a timed bomb attached to this guy's body. Seeing that the time was approaching, Ji Hyuk ignored the danger and lay on top of the bomb. However, when the countdown ended, the bomb did not explode. Then the dead man's phone rang. Ji Hyuk picked up the phone and answered the call. It turned out to be Mossa calling. Mossa told Ji Hyuk that he did this not just to take revenge on one person, but to show everyone the true face of the high-level leadership system that they had placed their trust in. So Mosa told Ji-hyuk to look forward to his special performance later. It turned out that the computer left after the explosion at the factory was also part of Mosa's plan. Jae relied on the clues provided by the storage department to find the direction of the truck carrying the goods from the previous container. When Jae arrived, she found that there was no one guarding the area. As soon as she opened it, what caught her eye was a giant bomb. When the countdown ended, it did not explode, but instead caused the surrounding area to fall into darkness. It turned out to be a large-scale electromagnetic pulse bomb. It could disable all electronic devices within a 5-kilometer radius. At this time, on the street, Jae saw the only car that could move. It was Mosa's special car. She immediately told her colleagues to follow his car. The explosion of Mosa's electric bomb had destroyed the data server of the National Bank, and this bank was the largest domestic bank in Korea. It controlled 1/3 of the data of the economy. Therefore, Jae immediately contacted Ji-hyuk. She speculated that the target that Mosa wanted to attack was likely the National Bank. As expected, Mosa led his subordinates to this bank and transported an electric bomb inside. At the same time, Mosa immediately led his subordinates to occupy the central area of the bank. When Ji-hyuk and Jae arrived, the main door was already closed. Very quickly, Mosa began broadcasting live. Mosa asked the authorities to make a choice. One was to save the more than 30 hostages he had kidnapped, and the other was to choose to save the bank data that they valued. The authorities were only allowed to choose one of the two. They only had 3 hours to think. After saying that, he had 3 security guards hanged, indicating that the thinking time had begun. The news immediately spread throughout the country. Deputy Director General Du received a call from the Director General. He said that the Blue House demanded that the electric bomb be found at all costs to protect the bank's data because it involved countless people and businesses. But Pil-ho stood up to object because if they didn't choose to save people, people would lose faith in the authorities. But Deputy Director General Du said that one involved the lives and livelihoods of millions of people, and the other involved the lives of more than 30 people. Pil-ho probably knew better than her, which was more important. They understood that Mossad did this to take advantage of the people's psychology, causing them to lose faith in the authorities, thereby shaking the development of the whole country. But fortunately, at this moment, Sang-jun woke up. Seeing Mossad calmly massacre the lives of innocent people, he decided to help the intelligence agency use Mossad's malware to open the door that was blocking Ji-hyuk and Jae. The two of them also understood the current situation. They chose to find the electric bomb first, but after careful inspection, they discovered that the bomb was fake. It turned out that Mossad had intended to execute the hostages from the beginning. No matter what choice the other party made, he wanted to destroy the people's trust. Through that, Jae also confirmed that Mossad was her biological father, because her father used to be a special agent who was very good at manipulating psychology. But at this time, Mossad, through the surveillance system, also discovered the two of them. The two quickly ran to the top floor to broadcast the code to the people who were lying in ambush around. But even though they knew the bomb was fake, the leaders still refused to agree to rescue the hostages first. They asked Ji-hyuk and Jae to immediately search every corner to make sure there was no second electric bomb. Indeed, Mossad really understood the psychology of those sitting on high. They only thought about their own interests. Therefore, he guessed that they would not choose to rescue the hostages. But Deputy Director General Du understood that this was a psychological war that special agents like them had to play to destroy the enemy. Therefore, she arbitrarily decided to order Ji-hyuk to rescue the hostages first. At the same time, she sent a special forces team to coordinate the action. Jae was also very smart. She used the music her father liked to listen to when she was little to play on each floor. After seeing the hostages' reactions, she immediately identified the floor they were being held on. Then the two of them immediately took action. But Mossad went crazy after hearing this music. After destroying the speaker, he immediately ordered his subordinates to pay attention to the hostages. He went to the control center and saw Ji-hyuk fighting alone all the way to the door of the hostage room. However, no matter what Ji-hyuk did, he could not open the locked door. Mossad told Ji-hyuk that you not to waste your efforts because I had already installed a bomb inside that room. The door opening switch was in my hand. If Ji-hyuk wanted to save the hostages, he should go to the rooftop. On this side, the Director General had also gone to the command center. He angrily scolded Deputy Director General Du for not following orders. Then through the screen they saw Mossad and Ji-hyuk going up to the rooftop one after another. Looking at the remote control in Mossad's hand, Deputy Director General Du ordered the snipers not to act rashly and to keep an eye on him first. Then Mossad threatened Ji-hyuk to put down his weapon. Then Mossad shot Ji-hyuk in the leg. As for why Mossad didn't kill Ji-hyuk, it was because he thought he had a sure win. So from the beginning he took advantage of Ji-hyuk. Mossad made Ji-hyuk harm teammates and turned Ji-hyuk Ji-hyuk into someone with a past like him. Mo-sa hoped that someone filled with hatred like Ji-hyuk could help him complete his revenge and eliminate those in the San-mung organization and those who had harmed him. In the end, Ji-hyuk didn't do what he wanted. Ji-hyuk chose to follow the so-called justice to satisfy his vanity. Ji-hyuk responded that, although he had killed his comrades, he had the courage to admit it and repent for it. However, Mosa just wanted to push the responsibility onto someone else. Mosa was enraged and immediately raised his gun to shoot Ji-hyuk, but Ji-hyuk told him to look at the hostages. Inside the screen showing the live broadcast, Mosa saw Jae-yi appear among the hostages. It turned out that a few minutes ago, Ji-hyuk and Jae-yi had split up to act. Jae-yi ran to the hostage area despite the danger, so to be mistaken by the thug for the remaining bank employee and immediately arrested. She wanted to test if Mosa was really her father. If true, he definitely wouldn't attack her. When Mosa saw Jae-yi, the excitement from the song just now and the current scene made him gradually remember something. While Mosa was distracted, Ji-hyuk immediately pushed him down and knocked the remote control away. Ji-hyuk then immediately picked up the gun on the ground, but when he saw that Mosa still wanted to grab the remote control, Ji-hyuk opened fire without hesitation. Based on the instinctive reaction of a special agent, Ji-hyuk's 2 shots hit Mosa's vital spots. When Mosa was on his last breath, he told Ji-hyuk that the remote control was actually the bomb's switch. The bomb he had installed was a timed bomb, and only this remote control could close the timer. Hearing this, Ji-hyuk didn't know what to do. Only saw Ji-hyuk pick up the remote control. Just as Ji-hyuk was hesitating whether to believe Mosa or not, the Director General saw Ji-hyuk's unusual actions and was afraid that he would suddenly make a mess and destroy the data. So the Director General immediately ordered the sniper to take down Ji-hyuk. On this side, when Ji-hyuk heard Mosa's miserable plea to quickly press the switch, he chose to believe Jae's choice. After all, she had put herself in danger to test her, so he chose to believe her father once. At the same time he pressed the switch, he was also shot down by a sniper. When the commando team rushed to rescue the hostages, they discovered that the bomb had stopped at the last 2 seconds. After being shot, Ji-hyuk slowly stood up. He told Jae, who had just arrived, to quickly go see her father one last time. Mosa said that he really missed Jae. He chose to ignore her because he didn't want her to be in danger. Ji-hyuk then went to the hostage room and appeared on a live broadcast in front of the whole country. Ji-hyuk recounted what he had experienced and exposed the shamelessness of the San-mung organization, who stole people's personal information and manipulated their psychology. From there, they controlled the election. Finally, Ji-hyuk told reporter Ki-sun to contact Chairman Shin, who had watched the entire live broadcast. Although Chairman Shin had fled abroad, when he saw this scene, he also felt that San-mung was about to disappear. Therefore, he decided to provide the secret list of San-mung members to the reporter. When Ji-hyuk received the news, he announced the password to everyone so that every citizen would know who the San-mung members were. Finally, Ji-hyuk fainted because he had to spend 5 years in prison for killing his comrades. After being released from prison, he no longer felt tormented. But not long after, a new mission came to him. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.